Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special live show. This is Final Crisis Live. I'm Admiral Logan. We are down almost half our panel right now, and we've been experiencing some technical difficulties trying to get the show started. We're going to go ahead and get rolling right now, and hopefully everybody else will be able to join us soon. I haven't heard from Dan. He's supposed to be here. Eric said he would, so we should see him about well, it would have been halfway through the show. Now, oh my goodness, that's myself. Hold on. I was hearing myself talking. Which, I mean, as much as I like hearing my own voice, not like 3 seconds behind. So, anyway, let me go ahead and introduce the panel as it stands right now. And then what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to, each of us, tell you a little bit about the TV shows that we watched this last week, as we have been doing on Primetime Crisis Live all the way up until now, although in a slightly different format. And we will be slowly announcing some stuff about the new exciting Geekvolution relaunch, the new Geekvolution. And, folks, we've got some really cool stuff to tell you about tonight. As we're doing that, because the way we're going to be doing the superhero TV shows and other TV shows too is going to be different from now on, and so I'm going to slowly give you a sense of what we're doing with that as we do the first half of the show, and then after that we're going to do a DC Rebirth style rollout for the new Geekvolution. First of all, as I said, let me go ahead and introduce the panel as it stands, and as I said, hopefully everybody else will get here pretty soon. It is, first of all, Jackson Rasco.
Howdy.
The Curious Low.
Hello.
And Steve Baxi.
Since we're going with this title, I just want to point out Final Crisis by Grant Morrison's a really good story. I like it.
I've been seeing comments all day that say, I hope that your live show makes more sense than that did.
Exactly. That's why I said it, because I like that story. People just don't know that.
I know things about it, but I've still never sat down and read it cover to cover.
We should do a review together.
Okay, let's do that.
After we do Grant Morrison's Batman, because it's in the middle of that.
This is how all... Yeah, that would be in there anyway. This is how all of my and Steve's conversations go. Oh, you've never heard of that? There should be a video. Oh, you haven't watched that yet? Video.
It's also conversations with Eric.
If we did everything that we said we were going to do videos on, we wouldn't have personal lives.
Snow crash.
At all. We wouldn't do for it. Yeah. So... Hi, everybody. It's good to see you again. I know you've seen me somewhat recently and somewhat frequently this last week because of Batman vs. Superman, the things that came out around that. But I have been technically on hiatus for the last month, and it is cool to be on Crisis again, and somewhat ironic because it is the last one of these that we'll ever do live. What we're going to do right now is the panelists that are here, we're each going to solo tell you about the TV show that we watched last week that is assigned to us. And I guess this will be the first big exciting thing that I'm going to announce for the Geekvolution relaunch. Primetime Crisis Live is going to continue in the form of solo vlogs throughout the week. And each of us has a show, some of us more than one show, that we'll be talking about after each episode airs, so you'll get them much sooner, and they'll be shorter and more condensed, and every now and again you might see more than one person on those. I've opened that up to the panelists, so sometimes if especially if there's a big episode like, say, the Supergirl Flash crossover this week, sometimes we might want to get together and a couple of us talk about a thing, but by and large it's going to be solo, and we're going to be replacing Primetime Crisis Live with a brand new show on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Central, and I'll reveal a little bit more about that show a little bit later, but you will still get to talk to us. And actually, you'll get to talk to us more because that show is going to be much more of a Q&A type show. But I'll tell you more about that when we get finished with these. So I'm going to let Steve start, and Steve's going to tell us about... Actually, no, let's not do that because Steve's always... Because Steve's is a thing that he doesn't like very much, and and everybody probably already knows now what that is.
But let's start with Rasco. I don't like it.
Let's start. Yeah, I know it's great. It's great because you begged for it when we came up with this. By the way, if anybody's wondering, a lot of the reason a lot of the reason that we're doing the vlog style Primetime Crisis and that we're doing this new rollout in the first place is to give me a little bit more time during the week to work on the shows that you guys most want to see me put out. And me not having to watch 12 TV shows a week means potentially, hopefully, a lot more Counting Crypto Freaks and a lot more Superhero Rewind. I want to start with Rasco, because Rasco's never done with these, and putting people on the spot for the first time ever is one of my very favorite things to do. So, Rasco, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reveal each show that people are going to be doing on their own, and then let that person go ahead and do, right here live, the first of their vlogs as we're speaking. Rasco is going to be doing Flash for us. And Rasco, why don't you tell us a little bit about Flash this week? Give us a little recap and what you thought about it.
Okay, so this episode of The Flash, Flashback, it's about Barry going back in time. He needs to get information from evil Dr. Wells on how to go faster. And this episode, pretty much everything that didn't work in it is the stuff that always doesn't work in Flash. It's that people don't care about the repercussions of time travel. They will just do things, and they have no regard for, or they seem to just not care about how it's going to affect, as long as something positive comes out of it, I guess. So, for starters, Barry goes back in time, and he tranquilizes himself, and leaves his unconscious body in the middle of an alleyway, and then leaves, and goes and just continues on with his mission. If somebody had found that body, it wasn't even like a secluded alleyway. It was like by the street, and his body is just laying there. If somebody had found that, you could have revealed the Flash's identity. It was just not very thought out. And, yeah, stuff like that always seems to happen in the Flash when they go back in time. Overall, though, it wasn't
He was smarter on Earth, too. He at least put him in a closet or something.
Yeah, hook him up to something. He did nothing at all, literally nothing. So, the thing about this episode that was cool, though, was that it had a really good attention to detail in terms of, since we're back in time, there are a lot of things that, like, if you remember, you, like, would say, like, oh, that doesn't look like it should, but, like, things looked perfect. Like, Cisco's hair was slightly different because, like, in the new season, his hair's longer and, like just it's way longer. And in season 1, his hair's shorter, and even Cisco's hair is perfect. It's awesome. And with Dr. Wells, the Tom Cavanaugh, that's the actor's name, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
He did a great job again of, like, evil Dr. Wells, which is actually Eobard. He is a very different character than, like, regular grumpy Dr. Wells. Even though they're very similarly, like, creepy, they're different. There's, like, a different, like, intensity and evilness in evil Dr. Wells that's not there. And you can always tell the difference. At least I feel like I can. So one of the scenes in this episode where Dr. Wells is interrogating Barry because he finds out that he is from the future, that scene was directed and shot awesome. It was so intense, and it felt like a completely different show. Like, it felt like I was watching, like, a Marvel Netflix show for a second, and that scene was really cool. And pretty much it was a fairly, normal episode of The Flash where they mess with the timeline, and then Barry gets back, and it didn't really have any sort of, like, effect on future episodes. It doesn't seem like not too much matters, and it's kind of weird now because so much has changed. Like, we now know that Pied Piper is kind of like the friend of Cisco and Caitlin now because of the timeline's been messed up. So it's almost as if every episode we just watched didn't happen or had to have happened differently than we originally. So, like, the last week's episode, that didn't happen anymore. Nothing really happened anymore the way it did from where Barry went back in time onward, because Pied Piper was involved with everything, we can assume, because he was the friend, because he's now friends with Cisco and Caitlin. So, yeah.
Boy, Rasco, if you were Todd McFarlane, you'd be a kid in a candy store right now. That gives you an excuse to retcon anything you want to.
Yeah. It's stuff like that kind of takes you out of the Flash, and you can't take it too seriously. And if you don't, it's not a terrible show. It's fun. There's sometimes really cool, like, superhero moments in the Flash, which is, I think, the big appeal of the show, is that you get very superhero-esque moments, like last week's episode with King Shark. It wasn't last week's, but a couple weeks ago with King Shark, where he, like, when Barry beats King Shark, that's a really cool, like, awesome superhero, like, get hyped moment, and that's what Flash does well, but it's hard to take it, like, super seriously sometimes. Also, Barry takes a video of Eddie, and he shows it to Iris. So Eddie from the past makes a video for Iris in the future. And when Barry walks in to show the video to Iris, she just so happens to be looking at a photo album of pictures of Eddie. And then, like, the video to Iris is a video that clearly it only makes sense if he it seemed as if he knew that he was talking to someone in the future in the video, because he's talking about how like, you don't need me, you're better off, or like you could handle yourself without me, and it's like, it's just very, that whole scene was like way too many contrivances.
Yeah, that cracked me up, Rasco, because he's like, I don't have time to do this. Okay, fine. And it's like, I've got the scripted thing that's going to relate to everything you've been going through.
Yeah. But that was Flash.
Thank you, Rasco. Good job, sir. That was great. So that's something akin to what you can expect from Rasco Weekly about The Flash. Let's go ahead and hear from, since we're in the CW realm, let's go ahead and just knock those out, I suppose, and we'll let Steve go ahead and do his. Now, for those of you that don't like the fact that Steve and I have not loved Arrow and haven't had a lot of nice things to say about it, we try to give it credit when it's due, but you might be a little bit surprised to know, and so this might be to some of your chagrin, that Steve asked for Arrow when I was giving out assignments, and he was, and you know, I told him that that Eric, and I guess I'll reveal this because he's not here, but Eric is going to be doing Gotham, and I was like, what, Steve? You know what, Gotham? He's like, no, I will pay Eric to take Gotham, but I want Arrow. Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about Arrow this week and what you thought of it? Give us a little recap.
So, all right, this week's episode of Arrow was called Beacon of Hope. It's the 17th episode, and this is building up into next week's, which is supposed to reveal who's in the grave. So there's lots of scenes here that kind of pad that out, and they want to make sure you're guessing all the way through this as to who it could be. Basically what happens here is the uninteresting bee lady from Flash, Brie Larvin, shows up and becomes the uninteresting bee lady on Arrow. And that's kind of the extent of it. This is, Arrow always does action well, right? Like, even when I'm bored watching Arrow, I enjoy the action and the pacing. This is probably one of the most boring episodes the show has ever had. It ends like 15 different times, and it's impossible to keep track of what's going on because it's so boring. But essentially the idea is that Felicity has a mechanical chip in her back that allows her to walk, just like Tony Stark back in the John Byrne days. And Brie, what's her name? Brie Larvin or something like that, wants to go and steal it after she breaks out of prison. She breaks out of prison by using a computer and within 30 minutes rewriting her profile to say that she goes free, which one doesn't make any sense because they would have that on more than one record. Not just on the internet, but whatever. So she gets out, and she starts attacking Palmer Tech, and Felicity's mom, because she's still a character for reasons, Felicity, who's also a character for reasons, and Thea gets stuck inside of Palmer Tech Tower. And while they're stuck there, Mr. Terrific in the show, what's his real name? I forget. Mr. Terrific shows up inside the Arrow Cave, and
Steve, I think his real name, isn't his real name Happy to Be Here? I'm pretty sure that's his alter ego. Really happy to be here.
He's always happy over everything. It's so weird. Yeah, no, he shows up, and he's sick for reasons. We'll probably talk about that later. So he's in the cave right now because Oliver needs a computer person, and Felicity isn't speaking to him because they broke up and she's an idiot. And Oliver is also an idiot, but we'll get to that. Felicity is unbearable throughout this. So while she's running around Palmer Tech and trying to not die, we're just waiting for her to die. And as that happens, we get some banter between Oliver and Mr. Terrific. And it's nothing great. It's nothing that interesting. It's like the episode says, it's Beacon of Hope. It's all of these characters trying to give all the other characters hope for the future because someone's going to die, and we need to act like there's big optimism in their death. And through some of that, we get like a speech from Laurel to Oliver, which I think is actually a pretty good speech out of context, where she tells him to take all of the bad and then use that to find hope in something else and to always move forward. And that's fine. That's an okay speech. It doesn't fit her character. It doesn't fit what Oliver's going through. It doesn't fit the situation at all. But it's an okay speech. Long story short, Bree is taken out, and Oliver and whole Team Arrow is kind of okay again by the end, and Felicity's not with them anymore because of really bad contrived reasons. And that's this show in a nutshell. Just really bad contrived reasons for absolutely everything. The big one this time is Oliver not running for mayor. So he was publicly blackmailed to not run for mayor, and so he dropped out of the race. and then the guy who publicly blackmailed him was put on trial publicly and sent to jail, and Oliver is like, no, I can't run again because that's flip-flopping. That's not what flip-flopping means. I don't know if you've ever taken any political science class. That's not what flip-flopping is. But
and
whatever.
even if it does, why would you be worried about flip-flopping if you weren't a politician?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
The flip-flopping thing is only a problem if you're trying to win an election.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It's really dumb. Also, it doesn't matter whether or not they like you, because if you run, you'd be like the only person, wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, that's right. At this point, no one's going to be mayor.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. And then the other thing is Felicity, who every episode she gets more unlikable. I don't know how that works. It's an art form all its own, where just every time she shows up, she gets less and less sympathetic. Her reasons for breaking up with Oliver didn't make sense to begin with, but now they're acting like there is this some weird mutual thing where one of them didn't want this life and the other one did. And it's completely reversed because they're in this situation because in the first episode of the season, Felicity was helping Team Arrow without Oliver's knowledge. So she's been lying and doing this behind his back since the beginning, and he's okay with it. Suddenly he does something that she completely sympathizes with and understands, and he's the bad guy. And it just doesn't make any sense. And so the less Felicity we see, the better. We know she's not in the grave, but she kind of needs to be. The whole idea of putting her in a wheelchair and then giving her a chip, and then making it a plot for this episode doesn't really amount to anything. Making her be in a wheelchair and then letting her walk again didn't mean anything. So this whole episode was kind of just padding to give us lots of teary-eyed scenes with Laurel, with Felicity, with Thea, to make us think one of those three characters must be in the grave. And that's about it.
All right, folks, so that is something akin to what you could expect from Steve every week. Talking about Arrow, I'm sure. I want to take this opportunity now to welcome the entire Crisis team. Everybody's here now. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Hi, Eric, for the first time on webcam live. And still behind, it seems like Eric, can you hear us?
I think he's frozen.
I was wondering because he's had his hand in that same position the entire time he's been here. Okay, well, anyway, theoretically, Eric's here, and Eric, it's good to see you. Hi, Dan. Good to see you, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Manos, can you hear us okay?
I actually am still having audio problems.
Okay, that's rough.
Yeah, to our audience, I don't know if you could explain to the audience yet, but for some reason, Google is giving me problems today. I can only hear bits and pieces of what you're talking. It sounds like Skrillex in my ears. So I was just going to kind of jump in here and just see if it maybe corrects itself. I did a couple of things on the computer, so I'm hoping maybe my connection will clean itself out after a minute.
The good news is,
I hope you don't mind. I'm going to kind of just hang out for a minute.
That's fine.
So he could just do his thing.
He'll be able to talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. without us having any problems because we don't have to interact with him.
Yeah.
I don't know if Manos heard me say that, but if not, I'll type it somewhere. And then, okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and let's talk to Dan for a second and have Dan reveal what he'll be doing every week for the Crisis vlogs. He is not going to be talking about his show tonight because his show didn't air this week, but he'll be doing a special vlog this week, catching up on that, and also he'll be talking about that show whenever it comes back. Dan, would you reveal now what vlog you'll be doing, sir?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to be taking care of Star Wars Rebels. The next vlog I'm going to be putting out is a recap / review of the rest of the episodes from this season. The season finale just aired, I think, a week or two ago. So I'll be covering whatever episodes I haven't reviewed thus far on Crisis. And once the show comes back, I'll be doing single episode vlogs on every episode. So should be a lot of fun.
Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead, since we were doing the CW shows, I'll go ahead and do the last of those, and then I'll let one or two other people go, and then I'll come back and do Supergirl. I'm going to be covering 2 of the shows, at least for the time being, and some of this might change here and there. As I said, Eric's going to be doing Gotham, but Eric's not caught up on Gotham yet, so I'll also be talking briefly about Gotham a little bit later on the program. I want to spread mine out a little bit because I'm doing 3 tonight. So let me go ahead and talk about Legends briefly, and the episode in question this week was Left Behind, and no, it had nothing to do with the Rapture. The first thing I want to say about this has nothing to do with the episode itself, but especially because Rasco didn't bring this up. I want to mention the time wraith thing. The Flash introduced this idea this week that if you go back in time and you mess with things, one of the ways the timeline likes to try to straighten itself out is by sending manifested monsters that the timeline creates. That are very like Harry Potterish, and that even came up, and I thought that was kind of funny. I sort of like the idea of the time race. Why in the world have we never seen one before? And why aren't there packs of them chasing the time ship in Legends? That's insane. They've messed up the timeline in huge, ginormous ways, created almost post-apocalyptic futures that they've had to go back and fix, and no time race. What was it, just too big? The time race couldn't get their heads around it? Like, there wasn't even, the time race just disappeared because time was that different? What? Where are the time race? I'm sort of expecting Legends to suddenly have an episode that's all about the time race and try to catch up to this, especially if enough people on the internet complain, because that happens a lot with these shows. Oh, you know what? You're right. So we should do one episode to make a big deal out of that, and that should clear it right up. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this episode. Recap, Kendra, Palmer, and Sarah are all trapped for 2 years in the year 1958, and that being the exact year that the event of Stephen King's novel 11/22/63 begins. I half expected them to to go off and try to stop the JFK assassination. They are stuck there because Mick attacks the time ship, and he makes them fly off. And of course, at the time, they think that it's Kronos, and it turns out that Mick has stolen Kronos' costume and has time traveling abilities now because he has his own ship, and he's after revenge on Cold. And so they have to. So they end up flying off and stranding part of their team in the past. And I thought there was some potential really cool possibilities for drama here, and some of it is a good idea, and there's just not enough done with it. We're not the MO of the show is that we like to progress plot, but not really story. So we truncate the events. We keep doing this like 10 minutes from now, or 10 minutes later, and then 10 days later, 10 weeks later, and we get all the way to 2 years, and it's all truncated into about 10 or 15 minutes. And it was hard not to think, watching this relationship develop that we had already established an episode or two ago with Kendra and Palmer, that it might not be cool to live there the whole episode and see them moving on in the past. I thought that was a really cool idea, and especially it would have been a good way for this relationship to not feel like a forced-in thing. And like, what if they weren't dating yet? What if we started there? Like what if these two people got stuck in the past together and they developed an affinity for each other and a romantic attachment? Especially since 2 years is certainly enough time for me to buy that Kendra might get over Hawkman's death, or at least enough to want to get married to Palmer. And since he's the most likable and most sensible character in the show now, and I can't believe I'm saying that after Palmer in Arrow, I totally buy her potentially getting together with him. Real quick, I apologize. Let me stop for a second and check, because I'm getting messages. Okay, cool. I just want to see what was going on there, because we're having technical difficulties and people need help. So that's what's going on with those two, and then Sarah is there with them but doesn't stay with them because she doesn't feel like she has a place there. So she goes off to the League of Assassins, and decides to go with the old Ra's al Ghul in 1958, which I kind of buy. I gotta see why she would try to go back to her old life, because she doesn't really have a life anymore, and she has that problem even in the present. I don't have a place anymore. By the way, I like the idea of taking these three particular characters and playing around with what they're trying to move on, but in the past would be like, because one of them, with Sarah, used to have a life and doesn't have a place anymore. One of them is still trying to find himself. That's Palmer, and then Kendra has found herself, and then when they go back in time, all of that changes, where Kendra is losing herself, and Palmer finds himself, and Sarah would be probably just content living in her old life if they didn't try to come and save her. partly because, or actually entirely because that whole thing isn't actually a character thing and ends up just being a kind of time mental condition thing that's easily solved just like the bloodlust, and that's so disappointing. Once again, we want to move plot along, but not actually story or character progression. So any cool character stuff that we do like that, we kind of just solve really easily with some sort of an easy outer kind of fix. I thought it would have been really cool if she learned the lesson you can't go home again in a more painful and character-defining way. I like Kendra and Palmer together okay, but again, it's kind of filling a TV drama quota thing instead of me really buying that these two characters would get together. And you have to almost work at that not working when they live together for 2 years. That should work. It's not a bad idea. But I do like the fact that when you get to the end of the episode, those two are actually still together. I would have expected some forced drama to pull them apart, and I like the idea that Kendra doesn't want to live in the past because she likes the hot girl part of herself now, and she wants to still have that, but that she also doesn't just rush away from Palmer for no reason, and that's a thing that actually sticks. So I was sort of surprised by that, and kind of liked it. It was fun to see the original Ra's al Ghul again. We didn't obviously do a whole lot with him, but I was a little surprised that they were even allowed to do that, given that we wrote the Leave Assassins out of the show. So it's kind of a one last hurrah. The Talia thing is odd, because my big question is she, like, what happened to her? Like, did she leave? Did Sarah even know about her? Are we going to run into her at some point later on? Is that even a thing they'll be allowed to do, again, because they kind of wrote the Leave Assassins out? I don't know. That was a really straight. It felt like we've had a couple of these with the first season of Legends, where it's like, here's a thing that we don't want, that DC or Warner's won't let us like actually invest in and do regularly. But if we do it in like a throwaway episode in a time travel show, we can get away with it. So now you got Talia, the little girl version in 1958, real quick. All right. I don't know why we did that. But anyway, also, last thing I want to mention is, so it turns out that we could have gone to 2441, I think that's the year, and try to stop Savage anytime we wanted to. There's nothing stopping us from going to that year just before all hell breaks loose, and the only kind of generic explanation we get for it is that that's going to be a lot harder than going back in the past, like a lot further in the past. Like, it's going to be hard for whatever reason, whatever Savage is doing there, and maybe they'll make me buy this, but whatever Savage is doing there, that's going to be really hard. Okay, the problem with that is, the farther back you go, the more of the timeline you can screw up with butterfly effect and stuff. So wouldn't you try that first? And wouldn't you amass as big of a team of not incompetent superheroes as you could, bring them there, and if that doesn't work, then maybe keep backtracking, and then it just feels like we're stretching the show out as far as humanly possible. It's a 13-episode show. It should feel like a really tight narrative, like we've had with the Netflix Marvel shows, and especially broadcast, especially with Agent Carter. And it's not that. It feels as stretched out and meandery as Arrow does. 22-episode show. That's rough, but I did enjoy this one a lot more than I have the last couple. And I don't know. I think they squandered some of the potential for real relationship drama, but it was better than it has been. So I'll give it that. Let's hear now from because Manos dropped out again, and I don't know if Eric is here. Eric, can you hear us? Okay, there's just a picture of me. That's probably Eric. Never thought I'd say that. Curious Low! Why don't you talk to us a little bit? And Lowe's got two shows to talk to us about. By the way, let me stop and say that originally the plan was for this show to be about an hour. We had technical difficulties, and I wasn't sure just how long the little vlogs in this would take. So it may be long. It's obviously going to be longer than that, at least from 8 my time to now, or 9 my time to now. But anyway, we'll go ahead and try to finish these up. Lo, why don't you talk to us first about iZombie?
Okay.
And this sucks because I'm not caught up, so you're going to totally tell me everything that's happened, aren't you?
Well, this episode of iZombie, I think, is kind of what we have been waiting for as we've been discussing the show, because there were quite a few different plot lines that sort of came to a head this week. We finally have Ravi kind of getting to the bottom of the fact that Minor was not just a dog that he found and returned to the owner, and that it actually belonged to one of the Chaos Killer's victims, and that kind of unraveled. So by the end of the episode, we have Ravi finding out that it was Major that was killing all these zombies. And right at that last shot, we actually saw him start to zombie out, his eyes went all red and stuff, so it seems like he is reverting back to being a zombie. And then we have the plotline with Blaine, where he has just taken the experimental cure that was only supposed to be for emergencies, and he took it, and now he can't remember anything. He can't remember that there were zombies, he can't remember that he ever was one. He's acting like a civil person, which is just all sorts of bizarre. And then the biggest thing, I think, personally, is we have Liv coming to realize that the guy that she's been dating, who she was starting to think was working for the drug lord because he wanted to, it seems that he's actually an undercover cop. That all started to unravel, on top of the fact that Liv was on stripper brains, and it was just a really awesome episode all around. The one thing that I still feel like I just can't believe it keeps getting pushed back is that Clyde still hasn't found out that she's a zombie. Everybody's plot lines are moving forward, and we still don't know, I don't get it. It seems like they keep getting closer and closer, especially with him and that FBI lady who are looking into the Chaos Killer. It seems like it's just right there. Any episode it's going to happen. And, I mean, I don't know. It's crazy because the stuff with, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her boyfriend's name. It starts with a D. Dustin? Derek? I don't remember.
I can't remember that either.
That's only been a couple episodes long, and they're already getting to the point where they're like, okay, we know exactly what's going on with her character. But yeah, so it was a really good episode overall. I think they did a good job of moving a lot of the plot lines forward. Of course, Rose McIver is always awesome at doing all these different characters every single week, and yeah, I don't want to go too deep into everything, but that's about it. It's just a really good episode moving forward. We've gotten some nice revelations with the plots, and you can definitely tell that we're starting to get toward the end of the season because things are definitely starting to ramp up.
Well, I'm sorry I spent so long on Legends. I'm going to talk now a little bit about Supergirl from this last week, which is the big episode that most of superhero culture was excited about this week. Of course, finally getting the Flash in the show and doing a crossover with a series that isn't already immediately in that continuity, and doing the Earth something else that's not Earth 2 thing, which was a really exciting potential novelty, and I gotta tell you, it was a lot of fun. I was very impressed with it overall. Let me also mention real quick before I get into this that this is the sort of episode that you might see us talk more about together when we do our live shows that I haven't even told you what that is yet, on Sunday nights, because like I said, we're going to have these individual vlogs, but sometimes there'll be things that we'll want a little bit of discussion on, and we'll certainly make time for those. So don't worry, we'll not ever have discussion about TV shows, but it will be the more big events and stuff that everybody's watching. So the episode in question this week on Supergirl, of course, was World's Finest, which was delightfully used, that episode title being a major DC comic staple for stories where Batman and Superman get together. It was it was kind of a double entendre title. I was talking, I forget his name, but I was talking to a guy on Twitter about this that brought something to my attention that I hadn't even thought of, which is not only is it that Flash and Supergirl are the world's finest, they're actually superheroes, they're actually heroic, they make a great team, but they get the job done, everyone loves them. But also when you get to the end of the episode and the civilians start to help out, and you have the firefighters. We've also got the kind of New York's finest kind of thing. The world's finest there too with the civilians, and I thought that was really cool. And I don't know if that was intended, but it fits. It works. That was neat. I like that the red kryptonite thing is still at the beginning of this an issue, and that people are kind of pausing and wondering if Supergirl can be trusted. I could see the argument that by the end it's fixed a little bit too easily, because the issue there shouldn't be so much that Supergirl suddenly turned on everyone and now she's helping people again. We can't trust her. She's like flip-flopping like that politician that we were talking about earlier, Steve. That it should be pretty obvious to everyone that she was on a drug, and that the real question should be, can we trust people with this much power in general to not be corrupted, like not of their own free will, just in any way whatsoever? Like it's not about whose fault it is. It's about this person could be a big liability if they like a weapon of mass destruction fell into the wrong hands. That should be the question. But I do like that people are sensible by the end, and you have that kind of Spider-Man 2 thing where the whole city comes together to help the superhero, and that was just a neat moment. And there's a lot of heart in this episode. The thing everybody's talking about is, yay, subverting the superhero trope of the two superheroes meeting for the first time don't have to fight. And how weird is it that that's a big subversion now, that you always have to have that big fight as soon as two superheroes get together. I love that we turned this on its head, and I feel like they did it on purpose. We are constantly challenging the modern cynical, broody superhero story in the show, saying, no, the more optimistic stuff is not outdated. You just have to be smarter about it. And doing that here by having the Flash catch Supergirl and wonder why she's saying that she doesn't need help in the first place, that he comes in and saves her. I absolutely love that. They are a lot of fun together. Their being friends real quick makes a lot of sense. It's fun not just because, yay, we don't have to hate each other for no reason. We kind of had that with Flash and Arrow a little bit, where I felt like we had to force their not liking each other a little bit. Here, they are fast friends, and it makes sense. They have a lot in common. Their worldviews are similar. They're both, like I said, really heroic. They both have this idealism in common. They both have this sense of responsibility about their powers. There's no reason they shouldn't get along, and it's cool that we don't have to force some reason that they don't. I will say that I kind of wish that somehow or rather we could have had maybe a dual character arc for them, but I realize this isn't Flash's show. He comes in as a guest star, and it still is very much Supergirl show. We're still moving along the overarching story of the show. We don't stop suddenly in order to have this throwaway crossover thing like we kind of did with the Flash and Arrow crossover last year. Here we're continuing the thread with the will they or won't they thing with Jimmy Olsen, which I don't care for, and I think he is a little bit out of character and a little juvenile in this episode. But we're continuing that. We're continuing the Kryptonian stuff with Non at the end. The Red K thing plays into this. So it still is very much her show, and so that's really good. But I felt like he could have maybe learned a little bit from this too. But I do really like that he's that he's helping her out throughout this episode and giving her a lot of moral support. And I also really like that Flash remembers stuff that happens in his own show. That shouldn't be too much to ask for, but I wasn't sure I could necessarily expect it, especially when they start talking on that balcony and she's talking about the red kryptonite, and for about a minute and a half, he doesn't bring up the fact that nearly this exact same thing has happened to him, and in another crossover with a superhero to boot, right? I mean, that was the Flash Arrow crossover last year did that, and so they can contrive a fight with him and Arrow, of all things. And then suddenly he brings it up. It doesn't go into detail, but when he brought it up, I was like, yes, he remembers stuff! And that was really exciting to me. Flash is so in character, he's almost out of character in this episode. He's been so broody and conflicted and stuff in his own show, and he'll come to a place and get kind of brought back a little bit just so that we can have more, forced character drama and stuff. And here he's so himself and so what he used to be that and I don't feel like it's out of character just because of all the stuff he's been dealing with Zoom. He's a scientist. He loves being the Flash. Even though he's afraid he won't be able to leave, this would excite him. Getting to see this other Earth would be really fun for him, and it is. Everybody's talking about the ice cream moment. That is so cool. I love Benoist's natural reactions to things, which is really on display here, both in that scene and at the end. The way she responds to the way she reacts to Jimmy kissing her, that kind of scene I don't usually necessarily care for it, but boy, the way she responds, where he's not saying anything and doing anything, I was like, that is so her. I love it when I'm in a character's head enough to be able to say that is so Kara, and I definitely had that with this in multiple places. I thought that was cool. One of my other favorite things about this episode was the jabs at the CW. I thought that they were loving and not mean-spirited, but also hilarious. When Cat Grant says, you look like the family on a CW show, I about lost my mind. And then she wants to call the Flash the Blur, which is a direct Smallville jab, and that was great. The pseudoscience at the end is too easy. The fact that that Flash is like oh wait, you said something about speed. That gives me an idea. And then this idea of like him and Supergirl putting their speed together in order to get him to another dimension. I could see some that may be working, but wouldn't you need, I don't know, math? Like, how do you know that's not going to send you to another time period? How do you know it won't send you to how do you know you're going to go to the universe you want to go to? That's too easy and was absolutely hilarious. Also hilarious was the most cliche thing I've seen in a superhero show in a while, which is not at the very end, actually says first national city, then the Earth itself. Oh, why not just go all the way? Why not say then the world? If you're gonna do it anyway, go all the way. I couldn't even believe we went there. It was hilarious, but it was one of the best deliveries of that super cliched Saturday morning Dr. Claw line I've ever seen. All in all, it was really fun. I didn't talk about the team up of the super villains. I meant to mention that, especially because I've been calling for Silver Banshee for a while. It's a pretty typical team up. I like that they have a motivation that brings them together, the revenge motivation against Cat Grant that isn't just generically, we're two villains that are trying to do something right now and we need to get rid of the superheroes, so we'll do that thing. I like that it's not that, but it's a pretty typical one. Them together is kind of fun. I like that Silver Banshee's origin is first of all, I like that it's set up. I like that we spent a couple episodes setting it up, and that this character I don't like, I'm actually not supposed to like, and I really appreciate that. But also, I like that it's a supernatural curse. But then, if we do the supernatural curse thing, and if she's constantly flashing to the Silver Banshee face, why is the face just makeup? I was really surprised we did that. What is she flashing to? Is it just like that's what the evil spirit kind of looks like if it were to manifest, and so she just takes that image in her mind, like she's having a nightmare about Darth Maul or something? She just has and then she just paints her face that? Is that what it is? Okay, but I like that they went far enough to make it actually a magical, supernatural thing. All in all, it's really good. Lo, why don't you tell us a little bit about Walking Dead?
Yay! So, just in case anybody doesn't know, I'm being very short with my answers because I had surgery on Friday, so I'm like, I just don't want to talk a lot.
And Lo, by the way, we're so glad you were able to make it, and we're so glad you're feeling well enough to be here. If anybody doesn't know, Lo had surgery yesterday to get her appendix removed, and she's here with us talking. Oh, was it Friday? Okay. Yeah. Well, say it was yesterday. That's more impressive.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Right now.
So
move right now.
Yeah, there's actually surgery going on below the frame.
Do you have legs? Because people were really surprised in the Captain Logan No More video to find out that I have legs.
I mean, I don't know. You guys have no way of knowing. There's nothing that I could do to prove that I have legs, so we'll just have to take my word for it.
Sorry, go ahead.
So this this would have been not tonight's episode, but the one from last Sunday. East was the name of it. It was one of those episodes that I always feel like Walking Dead always has a couple of these episodes every season where they're just sort of fillery, and it's not filler in the sense that they are bad episodes. Like, they're still well written. I still really enjoy everything that's happening, but I don't really feel like the plot moved that much. There was a little bit of character development specifically for Morgan, but I don't know. It just felt a lot like Carol went off on her own, and then Daryl went off on his own, and we've got some people going off on their own, and people are chasing them, and it was a lot of just things that I feel like didn't matter to the overarching plot. It's interesting that they have put Daryl in danger going into the finale because he's kind of the fan favorite, and we have all of the, like, if Daryl dies, we riot, like, fan slogan things, which I'm sure was completely planned and is definitely to get a bunch of people to watch the finale tonight. I personally think Daryl is okay, also just being that there is a character that is probably going to die because he died in the comics, either this episode or right in the, like, very first episode of next season. So I have a feeling that Daryl will be okay, and they'll pull a little bit of a bait and switch with that character that is supposed to die, but I don't want to mention that name just in case it's spoilery for anybody who hasn't read the comics. We have some talking about, like, the aftermath of the fact that Denise is dead and sort of seeing where that's going to go. It was just a lot of catching up with characters that maybe we haven't seen in a couple weeks because they tend to, like, follow very specific timelines for a certain episode, and then you'll kind of loop back. Carol is always just down. She's so great. I love Carol. She can get away with anything, and even though we don't know exactly where she's at right now, like, Carol's fine. Nothing can hurt Carol. But yeah, it was a good episode overall. They've obviously set up a couple of different cliffhangers for us, so it'll be interesting to see what the finale is like tonight, which I will be watching probably as soon as we are done with this.
I'm sorry, we'll hurry this up, Lo.
Oh, no, it's okay. Oh, and just so people know, even though The Walking Dead is ending, I will also be covering Fear the Walking Dead going into that season as well.
Eric, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I thought I heard Eric trying to talk to us. Eric?
I can hear.
I can hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, we can hear you, but you're kind of faint.
How do I fix that? Wasn't that the thing last
Talk
time?
louder.
Talk louder.
Talk
I
louder?
think you're fine. It's just, yeah, I just wasn't sure if you were actually here or not because other people were talking. So yeah, just talk a little louder. Hi, Eric.
Like this?
Yeah, just like that. Wow, I'm having deja vu. I feel like we just did this. Eric, I'm going to talk about your show
now. Did you do this
now.
with Manos?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
Because I haven't talked anywhere about this show, so no one knows where I stand on it.
Yeah, okay, then don't say anything about it because that'll be great. Eric is going to be covering Gotham weekly, or whenever it's on, starting this coming week. He's got, what do you have, like 5 or 6 episodes to catch up on?
I've got 3 left.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay.
Mr. Freeze.
You're not as far
That's the last
behind.
episode I watched, Mr. Freeze.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then you're getting close. You're getting close. You're almost to the Pee Wee Herman of it all. So this week's episode, I'll talk about this for just a couple minutes. Was called Prisoners, which I can't believe that wasn't an episode title last year with the Fish Mooney in a prison. Why am I following this? I don't even care. Stuff going on. There's some more. Why am I following this? I don't care. This episode, although I have more of a sense of why it's there, it's just we're still kind of dragging stuff out. The best way I can describe this episode is tedious, predictable, and unbelievable. And unbelievable in the way that Gotham usually is, except that the over-the-top melodrama is not subversive or surprising because it's so predictable. I can at least find some in I don't want to even say joy because sometimes I feel like a terrible person to say that with this show because this show has a lot of fun maiming and killing people, and sometimes I wonder about its about how it's treating its female characters, but whatever. This episode is just kind of padded out to get us to the next place, and I feel like it could have been done in about 15 minutes. It's so with the Penguin. we've got your by-the-numbers kill for inheritance plot. We've got the Shakespearean poison scene. We've got the children who don't like the brother who's come in and is stealing the father's affection, and they try to off the father, Paul Rubens. And Paul Rubens, by the way, does a great job. I would have liked to have seen him here for a lot longer, and maybe had him and Penguin together, conspiring together to do something. And he seems really creepy. And Adams, I wrote this on Facebook. I was like, I'm pretty sure that Paul Rubens' character is just Gomez Adams. And I felt like I was in the Adams house. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop and see. There had to have been some awful thing that these people did, especially being in Gotham, that got them their wealth. And this guy talks about bad things he's done too, but it's never really discussed what exactly it was that he's done. And then at the end of the episode, they've offed him already, and we don't get to do anything with that. And I think this is just a way for the Penguin to kind of get back into some sort of power again, because he's supposed to get the inheritance. And I guess it was just another way. Whatever happened to the Penguin as a master manipulator? We're in a place right now where I feel like he's almost more likable. Maybe he is more likable than Jim Gordon. He's got speeches about how he wants to be good and how he's trying to, be on a path to redemption. And I find myself kind of believing him. So if he is still manipulating people, I'm the only one that he's actually managing to manipulate, because he's not really doing that anymore. And meanwhile, we've got Jim Gordon, who I have no idea why I'm still following and supposed to care anything about. I don't know how this guy ever becomes anything close to the Jim Gordon that he was at the beginning, or that he's supposed to be in Batman things. He went to prison for murder. He murdered someone. Now he's on the run, and he's a fugitive, and he was helped to get on the run by Carmine Falcone, of all people. He's at the exact opposite place that he was at the beginning of the series, where he was holding to his morality and he refused to be corrupted by the city. He's arguably more corrupt than anybody else in the police force now. And maybe corrupt's not the right word, but he's willing to do anything he thinks needs to be done for whatever his cause is, and he's staying in Gotham. I don't know why I still care about James Gordon, the protagonist of the main protagonist of the show. I'm pretty sure at the end of this we're setting up probably a thing with him and Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne's on the street now, and he's kind of out on the street now, and my guess is we're going to put them in a place where they're going to go on adventures together and teach each other how to be the people that we know them from closer to the comics. That's my guess, is where things are going. But yeah, nothing surprised me, and I will say that there are at least consequences for the bad stuff that Jim Gordon has been doing. But like I said, I don't sympathize with him in any way at all, so I don't know why I'm supposed to really care. But I'm glad at least he wasn't back in charge of the police department again at the end. I kind of thought, or there with Barnes. Because, man, when you got Barnes there, who really is something closer to the straight-laced guy Jim Gordon was at the beginning, there's this real contrast where Gordon is just a bad dude now. Yeah, it's, as I always say whenever I talk about Gotham, it's a weird show. Do we have any other shows to talk about without Manos? Because Manos has been trying to get back in and out. He's having a tough time. He was going to talk to us about S.H.I.E.L.D. If he's not able to get back in, he may have to tell us about S.H.I.E.L.D. on a vlog next week. Man, I hate that.
And we're dropping Lucifer.
Yes.
If anybody was wondering where that is, none of us really care enough.
If we have...
I saw the first episode of that. It was okay.
Yeah,
it just doesn't grab me anymore.
Me too. I didn't like it enough to keep going with it. If we have a big outcry about Lucifer, one of us might consider rock, paper, scissors for it, but...
Well, I was thinking about, when the season wraps up, I could just binge it and do a whole season review, because that's kind of how I would have watched it in the first place.
And that's fine, Steve. Yeah, that's a good idea. Sure, and that would be a good way to cover things that we don't want to commit to and keep track of weekly.
It would also help because the shows like that are so touch and go with the comics they're based on that if I just had a whole season, I could have a whole section talking about the differences and things that they keep, as opposed to just doing it week to week.
Yeah, and that would be more concise. And
yeah.
That's a good idea. Good job, Steve. I like it.
This is how we decide things. We just randomly say sentences and then things happen.
This is how we... I mean, most of them we decide...
Somehow Steve ends up with all of them.
Yeah, Steve. Well, that's why I'm so quick to put my stamp of approval on things, Eric, because it's always Steve. It's never like, hey, Captain Logan, you know what you should do? It's always, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm like, okay. Folks, it's now time to officially, and I'm sorry that we are already an hour into the show, but that we didn't get started until 20 minutes past 8 my time. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and do it now. And Manos, if you're listening, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't know what's going on with the technical stuff, but if you're able to get back in, we'll make sure and let you talk about your part of all this. So officially now we're going to get into the Geekvolution Rebirth section of the Final Crisis. And as I said, the first big announcement is that Primetime Crisis is no longer a live show. It's going to be vlogs during the week, and we're going to be replacing the show with another show, and it will be the same time on Sunday nights with as many of us as we can scrounge together. It won't always be all 7, and frankly that's probably for the best, because as we saw on this Batman vs. Superman panel, 7 is a lot. A lot of us wanted to say stuff during that panel that we didn't get a chance to, and it was still 2.5 hours long. I held back a lot during that panel, and there were things that I would have said if I hit that. So anyway, it's a big group, which is great for the relaunch and for all these new programs we're going to be bringing out for you, but it's not always the best for a big live show. So spoiler cast, probably not going to be all 7 of us. We're probably going to be rolling some dice or doing some rock, paper, scissors for some of that. And we'll probably get it more to like 3, 4, 5-person panels. So every Sunday night, as many of us as we can scrounge together, we're doing a new show called 0 Hour. And 0 Hour is going to be kind of a catch-all pop culture news show. We'll be doing some comic book stuff during that, but we'll also be talking about, we've got a whole itinerary for that, and we're going to be talking about like the last week in box office. We'll talk about newly announced things. We'll talk about newly canceled things. We'll talk about celebrity deaths, if you ever have any of those. When I rolled this out, Lo was like, well, I hope we don't have to do that every week. But that's going to be in there. We're going to be talking, he's still trying. We're going to be talking about, like I said, new things are announced, trailers, that's where we'll be talking about that stuff, and any news that we do lives on during the week that more of us want to weigh in on. So as I said, that's going to be an hour-long show. There's going to be a lot of Q&A during that show, so it's going to be basically open forum, the live show, and like I said, we're going to go through those things, but much of that will be very quick. We'll have open forum, and you guys will be able to talk to the Crisis team live and ask us about anything you want to talk to us about that we might have talked about during the week. That's a really good time to get for us to get feedback on videos and things, and if there's something you want to discuss with us directly that maybe you left comments about or you were waiting for of some of our individual videos, that's also a really good time to do that. And all week you're going to see individual videos from all 7 of us, and you'll get to, and of course feel free to watch whatever you want to and skip whatever you're not interested in, and then that Sunday night gives you the opportunity to speak with several of us at once. So I think that's going to be a really cool show. And like I said, we'll also talk about some TV then when there are things that, bigger shows that we do want to kind of all discuss together. Once again, if you're just joining us now or you fell asleep because that first part was kind of long, we will, let me go ahead and run down all of the vlogs again. So Eric will be talking about Gotham, Rasco's on Flash, Manos is on S.H.I.E.L.D., Dan's doing Star Wars Rebels, Lo is doing Walking Dead, iZombie, and Lo is also doing another show.
I am. I'm going to start bringing a little bit of fantasy to Geekvolution, and I will be covering Game of Thrones.
Steve's going to be doing Arrow. And Steve, do you have any other plans? Because you always have plans that I feel like I can't keep track of.
TV show-wise,
Wheels
no.
within
I mean,
wheels, damn it. Or Steve is. I did too!
Everyone does it. I don't know why, but no, TV show-wise, it's just Arrow. I'll do Lucifer when the season wraps, but then everything else will come later.
So that's the first show that I wanted to get in-depth in and tell you what that was going to be like. But Geekvolution is going to count them 3 live shows a week now, and the second live show is going to be a show hosted by me and Lo on Monday nights, late at night. And Lo, tell them what it's called.
I don't remember what it's called. I thought we were still unsure about the.
Oh, you don't remember? Okay,
No.
all right. Well, this will be a big deal for some longtime
Put me on the. You know what? I'm gonna say it's the pain meds. That's got to be what it is. I'm high on pain meds right now. I don't know what's happening.
But
Go ahead, Logan.
I do feel like more people would watch that show, the comic book pain med show.
It's just Grant Morrison reviews every day. That's exactly how I read them when I'm high on pain.
Oh, laughing hurts. Okay.
Stop making Lo laugh. God, what's wrong with you, Steve? Lo and I are going to be bringing back in a very different form Comic Book Late Night, and it'll be this week. We're going to do it earlier than it will be for the next several weeks, and I'll get into that in a second. We're going to start this tomorrow night, and that show is going to be about current comics. We'll do some new stuff about comics on Sunday nights, like I said, on 0 Hour, so this is not going to be a new show. It's going to be about individual issues. I know I have changed how I do solo new comic issues no fewer than 55 times, but this one hopefully will stick for a while. This is going to be about issues we read last week and issues that are coming out this week. So each of those shows will be Lo and I picking the 3 issues we most recommend from last week and telling you about those, and then we'll be telling you about the issues that we are most excited about coming out of the comic shop on Wednesday, and we're doing it on Mondays because that's in close proximity to when the new books come out. So we can tell you about books that we're going to read, and that might help you decide what you might want to get at the store. We'll also tell you about books that we read the prior week, and if your store still has those, or if you want to jump on that series, that'll help you decide those too. We'll also talk about our favorite covers and some things of that nature. So it's going to be a real laid-back show. We're not going to be reviewing everything on our pull list. It'll be actually, weirdly, something similar to what Manos and I did way back in the day, and Eric was on that program a couple times, the semi-monthly poll. Yeah, you remember the semi-monthly poll back in the day of the dinosaurs?
Yeah, I remember when Manos and I both recommended Batman Odyssey.
Yeah, you remember when I recommended a Spawn issue and you guys were like, "What, Spawn?" And then I did Spawn here, and I didn't like that issue quite as much, but it's still better than other things. Anyway, but yeah, so we'll be bringing back Comic Book Late Night and talking about that stuff, and we may do some trivia and some giveaways and stuff on that show. I'm not sure yet. Tomorrow night. Yes.
We also sort of thought of like Admiral and I came up with.
Good luck remembering that. Yeah.
I know. We came up with this just based on the fact that I was coming into comics as a very new comic reader, and I was sort of thinking like I want to do something that's very like, if you've never read comics before, or if you're new to them, like trying to like help people along, because I was lucky enough to have all of you guys from Geekvolution helping me along with comics. And then Cap was like, well, I kind of want to get back into reviewing stuff, so that's sort of how it evolved into this. We're sort of reviewing last week's stuff, and we're also talking about things that we're excited for the upcoming week, and just a little bit of everything. It'll be fun. I'm very excited.
Lo's going to be a great other half for that show because not only is she new to comics, so you'll have a comics veteran with me and kind of a comics newbie with Lo. And I mean, I say that lovingly. It's going to be really cool to get that perspective regularly. And obviously, the longer we do this, the more it won't be a newbie perspective, Lo, because you'll have read comics for a long time. But Lo also reads a whole bunch of stuff, of course, that I don't. She's in other realms that I'm not in, literally realms. She's a fantasy person. Lo Lo's reading. Yeah, she's reading a lot of fantasy. Do you do some horror stuff too?
I don't think I have anything horror right now. I'm reading a lot of superhero stuff too, but yeah, I read a lot more like, I don't know, like quirky is the right word, but like I was really into like Paper Girls and Plutona, which are both over now, but those were really good. Looking at what I've got back there. Ow, it hurts to turn.
I've got it, but I thought that was an ongoing.
No, I think there's only 5 or 6 for Paper Girls. I don't remember.
Okay, but I saw the trade came out and it had a 1 on the front, which tells me there's going to be more of that.
Oh, maybe. I must not have been paying attention.
I don't know. I haven't read the last issue yet. But when you said that, I was surprised. Well, then why does the trade have a 1 on it?
Maybe. Oh, yeah, maybe it is coming back. Oh, somebody just said it's coming back in June. That's exciting. So I really liked it. So sweet.
I thought for sure that was a month. But anyway, Lo is reading a surprising amount of books, especially for somebody that has only been in the game for less than a year. What did you tell me, 26? I mean, you have almost as many as I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway. And that's not even counting like the fact that the new Poe Dameron book is coming out this month now. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
We're almost there. Yep. I'll be reading that too. So that'll be a weekly live show. It'll be I don't know how long it's going to be yet. Lo and I were talking about a half-hour program, but it might be a little bit longer, especially with a Q&A. We'll let you guys at the end of that also have an open forum and ask us about books that we didn't bring up. And anyway, I think it's going to be a really exciting way to do this. It's a laid-back way. Once again, part of this overhaul is about finding ways for me to keep talking about the stuff that you guys want me to talk about, but still have time to do the stuff that's more complicated and takes time, and that one made it really hard to write anything because it's so time consuming to review 20 books and get all the panels and stuff. So we're gonna do it this way, and hopefully we'll have some takers and people will enjoy that. Lo and I are gonna start that show tomorrow night at midnight my time.
And it will be a late night show for at least the first couple weeks, because I have just basically my work schedule means I will be working very late shifts for the next month, maybe more, but eventually it'll probably get back to being a little bit earlier. But for now, it'll just be really good for people overseas.
It's got exactly. It's got late night in the title, so we will keep it a late night show. Tomorrow night it's going to be at midnight. We wanted to have it a little bit earlier so that more people could be there. After that, while Lo is still with her weird work schedule, it'll be at like 2 in the morning for at least a few weeks, and then we'll try to back it back off to midnight or even earlier. But obviously, you can watch it after the fact. You don't have to watch it live. But for people that would like to be there and participate, and of course, we always make sure that we have plenty of interactivity, or at least as much as we possibly can. More than the Batman vs. Superman spoiler cast. I think we answered 5 questions in 2.5 hours. We'll try to do better than that. Anyway, so that's the second thing, and then the last live show, I'm gonna try to start this on Friday, but I gotta work up some technical things and make sure that I know how to do it because I've never done this before. I'm gonna start streaming video games every week, and I've been wanting to bring back the platforming hour, and I think that show makes more sense as a live thing. I'll be doing a lot of old school platformers and some new stuff too. I just got into Little Big Planet. I'm starting to get obsessed with Little Big Planet. That is so much fun.
That's such a good game.
I'm gonna do some of
like
that. Well, I got the new one. I got the newer one, but I'd never gotten to play it before because I never had a PS3. And so now I'm playing Little Big Planet, and it's weird though because Little Big Planet 3 on the PS3 is a $30 game, but if you buy it on the PS4, you can find it for $20. I don't understand that. Anyway, so that's a show I'll be doing, and I'll be doing kind of what Steve did on the first and only so far live gameplay we've had on the channel, which is I'm stealing your idea, Steve. I'm gonna give you guys. You just have so many good ones, sir. I'm gonna be doing a poll on social media and let you guys help me decide what game to play. And I'll do a different game every week, so even if I come back to something, I'll never do the same game 2 weeks in a row. Now let's talk about the other regular shows that are already on the channel and how these guys will be involved, and some of them they won't be, but I want to let people know what is staying and what exactly doing. By the way, when I'm finished with this whole spiel, we'll open up for an open forum and specifically about the Rebirth announcement and let you guys, not DC's, we stole their name because we liked it and it fit really well for ours too. We'll let you guys ask us any question you have. I've been getting tons of questions. Are you still doing this show? Are you still doing this show? Admiral Logan, now that you're calling yourself Admiral, are you even involved in the channel, or did you give the whole thing to Baxi and you're just standing back, but still just sort of there? No, that's not what's going on. So let's talk about some of this other stuff. I'm still gonna be doing captain's logs, but obviously, since I'm calling myself Admiral Logan now, there'll probably be Admiral logs, and then everybody else will have their own logs too, just like they have been. All the stuff you've been seeing lately is kind of going to keep going. So all the things we were doing while I was on hiatus, which I have to say in air quotes because I kept showing up, we're gonna continue doing a lot of that stuff, and there's been some really positive response to a lot of that, and these guys we're going to be running this like a newsroom, and anything that's interesting in geeky pop culture, especially comic book and superhero news and movie news, I'm going to open up to the whole team and let people that have something to say talk about it. We are not going to be a clickbait channel. I want to really emphasize that. We are not here to just read you a an article. We're here to give you our opinions and some speculation and open up for discussion. So we will try very hard only to talk about things when we have something to say about it. We get requests all the time for stuff where I'm like, I'll try. I don't know how much I have to say about it, but people really want to hear us talk about it. But we're not greedy. We're not here just to build revenue. We want to. This is fun for us. We're going to talk about things when we have something to say. And we will continue doing trailers that way and stuff, but sometimes trailers come out, and if we've already done one on that, we don't have anything to say, we're not going to talk about it. We will, as I said, also have talk about some of that stuff so that more of us can talk about it on Sunday. So you may hear some repeat topics so that people that weren't on that log we'll get to talk about it. Do you guys want to say anything about how you individually approach logs or the sorts of things that you'd like to talk about with logs or any of that? Because that's going to be a prime feature now on the channel.
Well, I mean, it just goes like, if you look back at the last month with Logan being on hiatus, you can sort of see the different things that we're all into. Obviously, the stuff that you're used to Admiral Logan covering on his own is not going away. He will still be covering stuff that he is interested in. But now things that maybe he wasn't that interested in, but say I am very interested in, or Steve is very interested in, or whoever, we can now put a log on it and be more like well-read on whatever the subject is. Like if it's something that one of us hasn't read before or one of us isn't familiar with, somebody else might be. So it's going to be a little bit more smart, I think, just overall, because we will all know what we're talking about. We're not going to do a log just to do a log. We're going to do it because we're passionate or excited about the thing that's coming out.
I have already, thanks for that, Lo. I've already suggested things a couple of times where there hasn't been any takers because nobody has anything to say.
Yeah.
We're not gonna. It's a newsroom in the sense that I'm delegating and assigning. It's not a newsroom in the sense that I'm not saying you have to talk about sports when you have nothing to say about sports. So, and also like you probably won't see very much about sports because we're
the Indiana Jones log and the Game of Thrones log that I did were both just me being excited about those things, and I know that there were other ones where people are just like, hey, this is happening, I want to do a log on it. So we're hoping to bring you guys a lot more news and just like better of it. Like it'll be more informed.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of news that you wouldn't ever have normally seen on Geekvolution, and like things that might even go outside of like comic book and like geeky type of things. Just like film in general news is stuff that I'm probably going to be covering too.
Yeah, but still geeky in the sense that it's media. We won't be getting outside of media, really, and the channel will never be anything like a political channel, so no worries about that. And think of us as, interested fans talking about stuff and trying to be thoughtful about it, and maybe to a degree sort of analysts, but not journalists. None of us would even begin to profess that we are journalists. And I think that's kind of an important thing to say, too. Okay, next up, I want to mention GNN and Recommends. Geeks Not Nerds has already changed because Vince has left the channel, and part of the reason this is happening is because I had so much on my plate, and I was on my own, and I didn't have Vince anymore, and no hard feelings to Vince at all. He's got his own life, and he's running off and doing his own stuff, and you'll see him every now and again. He and I still hang out a lot, but I really wanted to keep Geeks Not Nerds going and still have those sorts of discussions. I've been doing them with Dan. Dan and I are going to do one this week. Dan has been a wonderful co-host on that show, but with the new format for the channel, I thought it would be a lot of fun if we brought in other co-hosts on that show as well. And so you'll see maybe not a rigid rotation of co-hosts, but most weeks it'll be a different co-host with me. Every now and again, if I'm busy or something happens and I can't do that show, I may have two of these guys do it, but I will be primarily hosting that show. So no worries there. It'll always be me and somebody else, at least, unless I get sick or some unforeseen thing happens. But I imagine if there's anybody on it more than anybody else, it'll be Dan. Just so you know, Dan, you'll probably be the other guy, the guy that's there most often, unless I can get somebody else each week. And I'm going to bring in, all these other guys for that. And we will also be continuing to do recommends for the 15 people that care about that show. And when we do Geeks Not Nerds, we always shoot recommends. It's a tradition going all the way back to the beginning with me and Vince. Vince came up with that in the first place. He was like, hey, I want to talk about this thing. I was like, okay. And he was like, let's have a show where we talk about things. And I was like, okay. And so we've done it forever, and we're going to keep doing it. But as you saw at Manos do a couple weeks ago, these guys will also be invited to do their own singular recommends if they ever have something that they go out and buy and they're really excited about and they just want to sit down and talk about it for 5 minutes. They can do that as well. So you may see that show slightly more often, but you'll definitely see it every week, and you'll definitely see it with me and whoever I did a Geeks Not Nerds on. Anybody want to comment on Geeks Not Nerds or have any questions about them? Okay, and I need you guys to promise me. I need you guys to promise me that you will continue being geeks and not nerds, or at least call yourselves geeks and not nerds. Commentaries, we're going to continue putting out as often as humanly possible. I'm not going to commit to weekly on those, but we're going to do them as much as we can, and they will not always include me except for the superhero stuff. I am on a mission to eventually do a commentary on every movie I have done a review for Superhero Rewind on. So I will continue doing those and other such things, and there are some requests of commentaries, some official requests through Patreon that I got to tackle at some point. But by and large, everything else is up for grabs. So these guys, I'm already seeing a whole bunch in our comment thread where we put out ideas and kind of throw stuff at the wall. I'm seeing dozens of ideas for commentaries pop up. These guys are going to be doing some of those as well, and I think Steve is even going to do some solo commentaries on some things he'll be reviewing that we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. I'm saving that. I'm saving the big one, you guys, for a little bit later in the show. Anybody want to talk about commentaries?
Oh, I was just going to mention that, like, you mentioned the comment thread that we have. Like, I really hope that everybody who's watching knows how much care and work we have put into this relaunch. We've been talking for it for, like, over a month now, planning everything out. We've gone through about 1 million different iterations of all these different shows and stuff, really trying to make sure that it's what you guys want to see, but it's also what we are excited and passionate to do. And up until like a week beforehand, we were still unsure of how we were going to do our April Fool's joke. That changed about 8 million times. So
the April Fool's Day video. I can't believe that after all of the conversations we had about that, it turned into a 45-second video.
I still have that original script, by the way. I haven't read it.
There was a script?
Yeah, don't read that because you will slit your wrists afterwards, Steve. Yeah.
The April Fool's joke was going to be kind of mean at first, but we backed off from it.
And I wasn't comfortable with it. This is what happens when you, if I may, this is what happens when you collaborate. Sometimes it starts to morph and turns into something different. And I want people to know that while certainly there's going to be a different flavor to the channel now because I have a staff and that's so much fun because I have a staff now, and not just some folks that come in and do this on a voluntary basis. I am still me, and I'm still about all the things I've always been about. And I hope this doesn't sound mean to these guys when I say this. My sensibilities are different than these guys, than everybody else's. Sometimes in some form or another. And we had this really funny April Fool's Day idea, and then I decided it was a little bit too mean, and I decided I didn't.
It's okay, Logan. You can say that we're all really, really heartless compared to you because we were all on board except for you. You were the one that was like, I don't know, guys. This might be a little bit too tough.
No, we wanted to crush your dreams, but Captain Logan didn't. That's why he's an admiral now.
And so I ultimately came up with this crazy idea to do an April Fool's Day video that would at first seem like it was a joke and then turn out to be kind of true, but not like in a really awful, mean sort of way. And so obviously I don't mean to analyze my own work, but obviously what that video was meant to do on the day is make you think, oh, maybe Captain Logan's leaving the channel, and then it turns out that Captain Logan No More is true because we have promoted me to Admiral because I have a staff now. I also don't want people to worry too much about the whole rank thing. We're not going to make a big deal out of that. That was primarily a fun thing we wanted to do for sort of a viral marketing thing to lead up to this. We will probably continue to use them in the logs, and I will continue to call myself Admiral Logan because I've always been something Logan. If you want to continue to call me Cap or Captain Logan, that is totally cool and acceptable. A lot of you guys probably know this, but Captain was a rank, but also it's just my first name. My first name is Captain, so is Captain Logan. So I'm Admiral Captain Logan. Yeah, Admiral Captain Logan. Yeah. So feel free to continue calling me Cap. That's just fine. Vaults and comic reviews. So the comic vault is a physical thing inside my studio. I have a comic vault. It's not really a vault. It's really just a room with a whole bunch of comics in it. and the comic vault will continue to just be me reviewing things that are in my collection. The rest of these guys will be be free to do comic reviews in their own style, and we'll be doing that. You will see reviews from Steve weekly, and I'm sure, and Eric is talking about doing some comic reviews too, but we'll reveal exactly what that is when we get to everybody's individual shows, which will be exciting here in just a little bit. But comic reviews will continue to happen. Bat Chat will continue to be weekly. People keep asking me about that. Steve and I are going to keep reviewing episodes of Batman the Animated Series, but I also absolutely loved Steve's couple of talk about some aspect of Batman sitting in a chair for 20 minutes videos, and was kind of sad that I wasn't in on really all of those. Those were wonderful.
Steve's I'm Batman video became the most referenced thing I saw, like, everywhere. Like, people kept referencing it in other videos and on Twitter, and...
I'm glad people like those. There's still one more of them that I haven't posted yet that you'll see before Captain and I get back to the regular stuff.
Cool. And so Steve and I are going to be doing those too, because I love that, and I'm greedy, and I want to be in on that. So Steve and I tend to. I'm going to give you guys some inside baseball here, because I like to be transparent. Steve and I like to record several of those on one day, and we'll probably be recording Batman the Animated Series, a couple of those, and then a couple of those discussion videos too, when we get together for our monthly sessions where we put our heads together and talk about nothing but Batman. Which, by the way, we do more often than once a month. Also, we just don't record it. Because Batman is the thing that brings me and Steve together. As the Trek Experts will continue, we're going to try to keep that coming twice a month. I've got an episode in the can that comes out this week that will be including, we'll have other people that aren't on the panel, certainly. Sarah and Adam will continue doing that show with me. We love Adam. He's been a lot of fun on that show. If you haven't seen Trek Experts the last few times, the man knows his stuff, and I've been a little bit rusty. He really knows his stuff. He makes me want to throw myself in a Bane pit and just watch nothing but Star Trek for a year. So he's going to be continuing with us on that show. And now, before I talk about anything else, there are other shows here and there that we'll bring back. Manos and I are going to keep trying to do some yearbook. I don't know how often, just because of all these other shows that we're doing. But now I'm going to go roundtable, and we're going to have each of the staff reveal the individual shows that they'll be working on, and also they'll be telling you about their rewind. Let's start with Eric. Eric, you've got a few things that you're going to be working on. Would you tell us about it, please?
Well, I think I have 4 things.
You do?
I'll do the rewind last. I will do the rewind last. I'll build up the suspense. So I'm going to be doing Indie Comic Vault, which is really just... anytime I talk to Cap and I'm like, oh yeah, I've been reading this and this, and Cap's like, I'm just reading superhero books. So when he first started talking about this, my first idea was like, oh, well, I'm just going to review all the stuff you don't review. So that will be a weekly video series that I will be doing. I already put out one, the Man Behind the Curtain will be just a general topic series that will come out sporadically whenever I have something to talk about. I'll be doing another series that will either be weekly or bi-weekly, I'm not sure yet, with a friend of mine, tentatively called Remake, Reboot, Sequel. The premise of that is we'll have a prompt every episode for something. I was able to pitch it really well, and now I can't think of the best way to say it. Basically, we will each have we'll trade off weeks, and at the end of each episode, one of us will say, okay, this movie, you have to pitch next week. Each of us individually will go and come up with our own pitches for either a sequel, reboot, or remake of that film. So the first one is going to be a reboot of Spider-Man, since Spider-Man's coming out again. we're both going to kind of pitch our ideal for Spider-Man films. After that, I have no idea because I don't know what Matt's going to pick for the second thing. But that'll either be weekly or bi-weekly. And then my rewind is I am going to be doing a tokusatsu rewind, which, if nobody knows what that is, which I assume a lot of people don't, tokusatsu is Power Rangers. It's Ultraman, it's Kamen Rider. It's a whole genre of television in Japan of people in costumes fighting monsters. And I will be alternating between doing whole series and then films. The first of which I will be doing will be Kiryu Sentai Zyuranger, which is the series that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was based off of. So, yeah, I really didn't want to go first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that was really good, Eric. Good job.
Somebody had to, Eric.
I did my best.
You did awesome.
Eric's like, no, if we start with Tokusatsu, everybody's going to be like, what are these rewinds going to be like? That's such a specific category.
Yeah, mine is the most obscure.
I can already see people in both chats really excited for it, so don't worry, Eric.
Cool.
People are,
very cool.
Yeah, people are on board.
Next up, and Manos keeps trying to get in and out. Manos, if you're listening to us, if you jump back in, even if you can't hear us, when we get to the end, we'll let you talk about yours, and we'll be able to hear you just fine. So, like, even if you can't hear us, it's not a big deal. It's so weird talking to people that aren't here, but like through the internet. It's like, hey, person, you might be watching. Let's hear now from Dan. Dan has a couple of shows he'll be working on, including a rewind. And what are you working on, Dan?
That's right. So the first regular series that I'm working on is I felt like I owed it to myself and some of the people that I've been talking to in the chat in Primetime Crisis to go through the entirety of Star Wars The Clone Wars and review that episode to episode. So that's like the scripted ongoing series I'm doing. That'll come out every so often. I'm going to get a schedule for it. I just don't know the timetable at this point. I'm also going to be doing comic reviews sporadically here and there. I have a plan to do a series of reviews issue by issue on Frank Miller's run of Daredevil. That I have a few scripts for that done, so that show will come out too. And then the rewind that I'm doing is History Rewind, where I go back and look at movies set in different periods, historical periods. They don't necessarily have to be historically accurate because movies rarely are, but I'll be looking at anything that takes place in a historical period that I'm interested in, and the first one is going to be on the 1953 film adaptation of the Shakespeare play Julius Caesar, starring Marlon Brando. So it should be a lot of fun. I hope you guys like that stuff.
That is such a cool pitch. I'm really excited about that. Dan was the last holdout on telling us what his rewind was going to be, and took me a while to come up with one. And when he finally pitched that, I was like, yes, it is essentially period rewind, and he's calling it history rewind. I'm so excited about that concept, and we're going to learn a lot because Dan really knows his stuff. Let's hear now from the Curious Low.
Alrighty, so I'll just start off with kind of reiterating I'll be on that Monday show with Kat, and then I've sort of taken it upon myself to do movie reviews of new movies coming out, so I'll be trying to cover movies that aren't necessarily kind of the geeky ones. Obviously, if any of the other Geekvolution members have a movie that they really want to see, like, I'm not going to be like, no, it's mine, but I definitely am looking forward to trying to see as many movies as I can and get as many movie reviews to you guys as possible. I was even planning on trying to see Everybody Wants Some this week, but my stomach decided to explode, so that didn't happen. But in the future, I will at least be trying to get one, if not maybe two, if there's a week that has two really great movies, reviews up a week. And then my rewind, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big fantasy person, so I am doing Fantasy Rewind. And should I say what my first movie is?
Yeah, I'm hoping everybody will do that, unless you just really want to keep it a secret.
Yeah, no, I'll totally do it.
Sure.
So my first one, and if you follow me on Twitter, you might have guessed this because I've been ranting about it a lot, but Neverending Story is the first movie that I'm going to be covering. It felt like a natural place to start because it encompasses a lot of tropes and is very meta as far as fantasy goes. So yeah, that's my show right now. I don't have any other like shows planned, but I know I've talked with both Steve and Cap about some different TV shows that I'd like to do reviews with them, so that might come during the summer, but we'll see. For now, it's mostly movies and Fantasy Rewind, and then the Monday night show.
That's plenty, yeah.
I know.
Lo, I should also mention now, Lo, I think you're planning on continuing this. Lo gets Loot Crate. She's going to keep doing those unboxings for us.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I'll be doing Loot Crate unboxings.
I am also about to start getting into Comic Bento, so I'll be doing unboxings for that. And so we'll finally have some of those subscription boxes on the channel too, which is exciting. I like to do toys and paraphernalia every now and again, too. Even though I'm not the right person to review that stuff, it's fun to do. So every now and again I do that. And anyway, so Lo and I are going to be tag teaming on that as well. And I'm going to be doing the commentary on Neverending Story with Lo, because that's a movie I've been wanting to do something on for a long time, and I couldn't believe when she picked it for Fantasy Review, and I was like, wow, I keep thinking about doing that.
And it's one of my favorite fantasy movies. I just have watched it multiple times and have been thinking about it so much over the last couple weeks that I'm like, my brain is melting because of all of the Neverending Story that I've watched. That song will haunt me in my grave.
I know I said I might do this at the end, but since Manos is here with us now, Manos, if you can hear me enough to understand me saying this to you, why don't you go ahead and tell us right now the shows you're going to be working on your own.
Yeah, hi, guys. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm just having some weird audio problems, where everyone, to me, sounds like they're Skrillex. So, I am doing something weird. I am actually listening to the broadcast on my TV while I'm talking to all of you. And here I am. Hey, Lindsay, check it out. I'm on TV. Anyway, yeah, I'll be doing a couple of shows. I'll, of course, be doing the Manos log, as well as comic reviews. I'm planning to talk about Daredevil. And let's see, I'm going to be doing something different. I'm not going to be talking about the Frank Miller stuff and the Bendis stuff with Daredevil. I'm actually going to be talking about different eras and runs. Like I want to talk about the Fall from Grace, and I want to talk about the Andrew Cheni years, as well as a few other periods in Daredevil's history that I think is interesting. Where not as classic as the Frank Miller stuff, but Daredevil has just been such an awesome character. And I definitely want to explore other parts of him besides Frank Miller. I'll also be talking about some Batgirl Cassandra Cain in my comic book reviews. And I don't have anything finalized yet, but I want to bring Doctor Who to Geekvolution. And I have a show in mind. I'm still putting it together, so it's not finalized just yet. So I'll make a final announcement once I got it kind of all set. But I think it's going to be really cool once you get to see it. And should I talk about my rewind now?
Yes, do it up.
All right. I am going to be doing Anime Rewind, where I will be talking about anime films. I'll be talking about standalone anime films and anime films connected to TV series. And I can't wait. I'll even be talking about some live-action films based on anime. So yeah, I'll be talking about Speed Racer.
Oh, I didn't know you were doing that. Cool.
I'll be talking about the Gotcha Man film from 2 years ago. I'll be talking about the god-awful Dragon Ball Z movie that was made in live-action. Maybe I might even talk about the Hong Kong one from like the 90s or something like that. Dragon Ball: The Magic Begins. So it's quite bad. Yeah, I'm going to be doing all sorts of stuff like that. So I am very excited.
Manos, what's your first review on your rewind?
I'm sorry, what?
What's your first review on your rewind? We're all telling our first reviews.
Oh, the first one? Oh, I was trying to decide if I should announce that.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
Who wants to hear it? Who wants to hear the first one I'm going to be doing?
We're all doing it, but you don't have to. It's up to you.
Okay. I'm going to start. There's only one film I could start with, and it's Akira.
People will be excited, I'm sure. I've gotten so many requests for that over the years, and I never felt remotely qualified to do anime, so I'm so glad we have someone doing that now. Let's hear now from Manos. I'm trying so hard not to crack up about this absolutely fantastic fix you came up with for doing it. I'm imagining sitting here watching my TV being like, yeah, I look pretty good this evening.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Steve. I think he's the only person left besides me to announce.
And Rasco.
Rasco.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, Rasco. I'm sorry, Rasco. I skipped you because of Manos. Let's hear from Rasco first. Go ahead, Rasco, because Steve's is going to take about 20 minutes. So I'm kidding. Let's hear from Rasco. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to start with what my rewind is going to be. So,
no, you're supposed to save it. Whatever.
I'm going to start with it.
He's a rebel. You can't hold him
He's
down.
got a bandana, can't you tell?
Yeah.
Why didn't I hire a bandana-wearing fool?
So, my rewind, I'm going to be picking up where Vince left off, horror movie rewind. And the first horror movie rewind episode will be Nightmare on Elm Street.
Which is the last one that Vince announced.
Yeah, that's the last one that was what Vince planned to do, but never happened. So
5 years ago, and you should see me and Rasco because we're talking about all this on the phone, and Rasco comes up with this idea, and he didn't think I'd go for it. He was like, in fact, Rasco was the reason. I'll say this: Rasco was the reason we came up with the idea of everybody having their own rewinds. And Rasco goes, I don't know if you'll go for this, but I've always wanted to bring back horror movie rewind or seen it brought back. And then he started telling me how big of a horror buff he was, and I was like, Rasco, that's a great idea. I said, you know what we should do? I said, we should find out what the last thing was that Vince announced that he never got to. So he brings it up, and I'm listening to Vince talking through my phone on Rasco's computer, and we hear Vince say Nightmare on Elm Street, and we both just went, that's perfect. It's such a good one to start with.
So, it's going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome. What else are you doing, Rasco?
Okay, and then, so I have a couple of things planned that I'm not going to talk about, but one thing that I can talk about is I'm going to be doing a show, I'm not sure what it's going to be called yet, but it's going to be a discussion type of show about topics related, not reviews, but topics around and related to film. So I'm going to be talking about, like, indie film stuff, maybe some, like, technical side of, like, actual filmmaking stuff, and things about, like, just topics that generally kind of revolve around film, but not necessarily, like, they're not going to be, like, reviews. It's going to be, like, more discussion type of things. And I haven't told anybody about this, but I have a really good idea, and I think I might want to start doing speed art videos. And I think
that's great.
It could be really cool if I do the speed art videos, and I could give the art away to people that leave, like, comments on the videos or something like that. I could give away some art.
Why didn't you pitch me that?
I came up with it just like an hour ago.
This is you pitching me this live.
Yeah.
That is, Rasco, that's lovely. How are you at faces?
I'm very good at faces.
What if he said no?
What?
He knew I wouldn't say no to that. That's such a cool
What if
idea.
Kevin
Rasco's
said
a
no?
bandana-wearing fool. He doesn't care if Logan says no.
Yeah, Rasco. He's not a conformist. You know, he doesn't go with the institution. Rasco, could you do us?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, like, it'd be cool to do some superheroes and stuff, but it might also be cool if you did some of us. And there might be a few Geekvolution viewers. I hate to be, presumptuous saying this, but there might be a few viewers that would love to have those. You drawing us.
I've got some really, really cool kind of like meta, like Geekvolution continuity type ideas that I could do. Stuff that you guys have seen some examples. Like the Crisis team has seen some of the stuff that I've done in the past. I think I've showed it off to you guys before. So there's going to be just cool kind of, it could be things not related, it could be just like things from movies or comics or superheroes or whatever, or it could be like Geekvolution specific things that are kind of like they're like kind of jokes and kind of like inside jokes would be like in the art itself, I think.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
This is the think tank, you guys. Rasco, that's a cool idea, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. You'll have to come up with the right music for it.
Yeah.
And something that, won't get me copyright flagged constantly. That'd be good. Okay, so, Rasco, I'm sorry I accidentally skipped you. Let's now hear from Steve.
Okay, so I'm doing quite a bit, but this will be fine. If you've noticed, I've had lots of comic reviews.
I love how. Sorry, I gotta say this. I love how Steve leads with "Nobody worry about me. It's gonna be okay." Go ahead.
We'll ask that question after.
All right,
I'm saving my rewind for last, but if you've noticed, I have lots of comic reviews on my channel. I did this thing where, like, every week you'd get one comic review on Wednesday, and I did that over the last summer. So there's a year's worth of comic reviews that were automatically being generated on my channel every week. Now, because of the Geekvolution Rebirth idea, I've started moving those over to Geekvolution, so you'll get a comic review from my channel once a week here, but I've mixed it up. So I'm doing new reviews of stuff I've just recently read, so you get that thrown in with the regular comic reviews, and they're being scheduled to try and tie into things. So when Civil War comes out, you'll have an Iron Man review and a Captain America comic review every week for about 3 weeks up until Civil War. And you'll have a review of all of Suicide Squad, number 1 through 66, from the original Ostrander run, twice a week until Suicide Squad comes out. There'll be more of that in the future. So there'll be lots of comic reviews. There's another one.
Let me stop you for a second and also say that, and I haven't told you guys about this, but I'm going to invite as many of you guys as want to be on this. Before Civil War comes out, we're also going to do a Civil War panel of the comic.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Oh, I want to be on that.
Because I've been people have asked me forever to review that, and I haven't read it in about 6 years. So I want to make sure that we actually get a review of Civil War before that movie comes out, and you guys are all invited to join me on that. We might do that live if we have enough people.
Cool, that'd be fun, yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so we'll have all those comic reviews, lots of comic stuff. In addition to that, Eric and I have been talking about this over the last couple days, but recently I got a collection of all of H.P. Lovecraft's books, and Eric and I are going to try and go through and review all of the stories individually. And so more details on that as that develops, but that's another thing we're doing. And then from my channel, you may have noticed I've done a 2-hour analysis on Avengers Age of Ultron. I did a 20-minute analysis on a Buffy episode. You saw the half-an-hour analysis on Geekvolution for Daredevil. And I'm going to be continuing that, and the next project for that, because Civil War is coming out, I'm going to be doing one on Winter Soldier, and it's going to be Winter Soldier and Panopticism, basically Winter Soldier and Michael Foucault philosophy. So that'll be awesome, if you're me.
And that will, by the way, come out if Steve's able to get it done in time, a day before the Superhero Rewind on Winter Soldier.
Exactly. And that plan actually altered from what my rewind was going to be, because originally the idea was to get two Winter Soldier videos up that week, but instead we're going to be doing that, and my rewind that you're going to see pretty frequently, if I can get enough done, is going to be spy movie rewind. So you'll get stuff like James Bond reviews, you'll get Jason Bourne reviews, you'll get eventually Austin Powers reviews, lots of spy movies, all the spy movies. And the first one that's already been posted, and you will see it in a couple of weeks, is a review of Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest. I think
so now you've heard. Yeah, I mean, there's other podcasts and things in the pipeline, but as far as
I love that
go,
all of Steve's things are like, I'm gonna try and put out like 6 a week, if I can.
Steve's like, luckily for me, my days are like 37-hour days, and you guys, you lowly mortals, have your 24-hour days. So everyone is now announced a rewind.
Psychotic.
Everyone's announced a rewind. I'm going to announce a rewind, and I'm not announcing Superhero Rewind. That's already a show, and that will continue to come out. Nobody panic. I've already had some people who are like, well, Captain Admiral, whatever the heck your name is now, Logan, are you going to keep doing Superhero Rewind? Yes, of course. And part of and I hesitate to say this in case it doesn't work out the way we're hoping it will. I mean, I'm very busy with family stuff and things like that. But my hope is with so much extra help on the channel that I'll be able to get Superhero Rewind out more frequently. I'm about to announce another Rewind, though. But before I do that, let me say that the plan for Rewind, now that we have 7 of us doing them, I'll be doing 2, so we'll have 8, is to have them on a 8-week rotation. So you will get at least at least one episode of each person's rewind once every 2 months. Some of us will be wanting to do those more frequently, and I've, of course, told everybody that you're welcome to do them more often, just as long as the one that's slated comes out on time. And there will, I'm sure, be mistakes here and there. People may have issues where they're not always able to get it out on time. We're going to do our level best to keep it to that calendar. I'm going to be putting out a rewind a month at least. Superhero Rewind, I'm hoping to get out much more frequently. Let me also say that counting Crypto Freaks, I'm going to try to start forcing myself, just beating myself up as close to weekly as I can. Counting Crypto Freaks, it's too many shows. It's so many episodes. I'm only halfway through season 2, and I had a 3-year hiatus on that. I'll be reviewing Smallville till I'm 40 if I don't get on it. So that is so that's going to be a big priority, trying to get that out every week. But Superhero Rewind, I'm going to put out at least once a month, hopefully more. And the other rewind I'm going to be doing is Science Fiction Rewind. Rewind United will be a catch-all show that anybody can use to review anything that doesn't fit on one of these platforms, or I suppose to review a movie that sort of fits on somebody else's platform if there's something you really want to do. And I don't think it's bad to have multiple reviews sometimes of the same things, but we'll avoid that for the most part. But if there's something that somebody really, really, really wants to do, I'm not going to say no, probably. So Rewind United will be a thing that I will still use here and there, but it won't be a regular show by any stretch of the imagination. Science Fiction Rewind will come out monthly. I have a few officially requested rewinds that fit in that category. People know me as a science fiction guy, so a lot of people ask for science fiction things. I've got to do Blade Runner. I've got to do the 2001, 2002 Time Machine. I think it's 2002. There's a lot of things on that list that I've got to do, but I'm going to start with, and this is going to be a weird one to start with, but my first official science fiction rewind is, and I haven't told anybody about this, is going to be on Independence Day, because we have the Independence Day sequel coming out here pretty soon. And I thought I'd start with a not-so-good one that I absolutely love for not any really great reasons. So I'm going to start with Independence Day. And,
Will Smith punches an alien. You can't get better than that.
Yeah, and Brent Spiner. What are you going to do? So that's the first thing I'm going to...
Yeah.
And Jeff Goldblum, yeah. So that's going to be my first science fiction rewind. Like I said, Superhero Rewind as often as humanly possible. The rotation begins this week, Friday. I don't want to say Friday night. Friday, sometime on Friday, I will be putting out my rewind on the Batman Superman movie. Ignore this, I did that already. The Batman Superman movie, which is, as you'll hear me talk about in my review, not really a movie. It's 3 episodes from Superman that were put together as a movie, but it kind of watches like a movie because it's in 3 acts. And I put on these DVDs and called it a movie. And I'll be reviewing that this week, of course, tying into Batman v Superman. And then after that, I'll be doing something that's not related to Batman or Superman. The last several videos have been that. And then next week, you'll get your first episode of Spy Movie Rewind from Steve. And as I said, that doesn't mean that you'll only get Superhero Rewind every 2 months. It means that you'll get that at least every 2 months, but I'm going to do my level best to get it out more often than that. Does anybody want to say anything else about Rewind, the rotation, what you were doing? Anything like that before I announce a couple more things and we get to Q&A. Go ahead, Lo.
In the YouTube chat right now, everybody is making up Bond titles with Steve's name in it, and it's the best thing I've ever seen. I love you guys so much. Like Steve with Baxi, Thunder Steve, Baxi of Solace, Baxi Return. Like it's so good.
The spy who loved Steve.
Oh, it's so great.
It's the greatest thing ever. I guess piggybacking off of that, I do want to reinforce this, that the whole reason Rebirth is happening, the whole reason we're doing all of this live and we have the Unite the 7 and all that is because the 7 of us love talking to each other and we love making videos and we want to put out as much as possible. So this is all about having fun with the content.
And we want to cover a gambit. And as I said earlier, yes, it's going to be a different flavor now because it's not just me and occasionally some other people, and I won't be in every video anymore. But some of you guys might not realize this. It's so interesting looking at people's comments, and I, of course, respect all of this. But some folks say, oh, no, Geekvolution is changing too much. It's not. And some people, and I'm like this sometimes too, are a little bit like Red Letter Media. They just don't like it when things are different. And this is weirdly in a lot of ways, kind of what I always wanted it to be. I never meant for Geekvolution to be Captain Logan, the YouTube channel. I never meant for it to be the Captain Logan show. And it turned into that, and it humbles me, and it's a big deal, and it warms my heart that people are upset that it's no longer Captain Logan, the YouTube channel, because I always wanted more folks involved and people I trusted to keep up with content and cover bigger swath, because I'm a mainstream guy. I don't follow everything. I can't name a thing that Steve and Eric had never heard of. Like, I am mainstream guy, and I feel so much more comfortable just being me and doing the mainstream stuff when I've got other people that help me out covering other things that you guys really want to see. The channel is not called Superhero Rewind. The channel is not called Mainstream Comic Books, the channel, which is good because that's a stupid name for a channel. It's called Geekvolution. I want to cover a big swath of geeky stuff, and look at the. And I don't mean to oversell you guys on this or overpitch it, but look at the diversity and interests and personalities and stuff that we have here. Everybody has their own thing, and if you're Steve, you have 12 things, and it's just really exciting to me because this is what I always meant for it to be. Vince and I were partners. We always meant to kind of do this 50-50, and things happened with Vince and his interests and what he was doing that made it to where he was only able to be peripherally involved. And now I've got a staff, and I've got people that can help Geekvolution turn into something that sounds so much more sense for the name of the channel. So anyway, Steve, thanks for that. The next thing I want to announce is that May is Powerpuff Month. We did Tick Month a few years ago. I think of February. I'm going to do a second Tick Month, and I was going to do that this year, but I'm staving it off now until we find out when the new Tick series is starting, because we're getting a new Tick series. It's a big deal to me, and I'm going to have more of a reason, and some of you might care more, to talk about the Tick again. We're doing Powerpuff Girls Month in Powerpuff Month in May. The new show starts this month. I was going to do Powerpuff Month this month, but with the relaunch and everything, I thought it was way too much all at the same time. So we're gonna wait until it'll be a couple weeks, week and a half after the new show starts. Manos and I are probably going to get together and do a review of the first episode, the pilot of the new show. We're going to be doing commentaries on all 10 of the top 10 Superhero Rewind Powerpuff Girls episodes that I did several years ago now. We're going to do movie commentary because we've never done that, and I'm going to be reviewing, I think, all of the video games. I think I finally got my hands on all of the video games, and I don't mind saying right away, I haven't found one that's all that good yet, but I will be reviewing them, and that'll be fun. And there's some amusing things to say about each of them. So, and a lot on Game Boy Advance. So I'm going to be reviewing Game Boy Advance games. I'm the only one of those I've ever done.
A Game Boy Advance one.
What's that? What is it?
Advance.
Eric? I don't know what Eric said.
Ow, ow.
So, and I'll also be reviewing some of the IDW comics, and I'll be getting back to the single issue reviews of the DC comics that like 12 people were watching, but yeah, I was having fun reading those, so I'll do those too. And then there's one more big thing to announce before we open this up to Q&A. This is a thing I want to make sure that we end with. Does anybody else have anything to announce that we haven't thrown out there yet, or something you need to add? Okay.
There's one thing I wanted to mention.
Yes.
When we talked about commentaries earlier, I forgot to mention this, but I've got my pre-ordered copy of The Force Awakens being shipped to my house. So when that arrives, we will be doing a commentary on that movie as soon as possible. So I hope you guys enjoy that too. I know we're gonna have a great time, watching that movie again and talking about it.
We will. That will be at least 3 of us. Dan and I did the other 6 already. The other day on the chat that we all do together, Dan was like, "Who wants to do a Force Awakens movie?" I was like, "Me, Dan. I've done the other 6."
Yeah,
I never said me, and you were like, "Oh wait."
Probably shouldn't have said people.
Yeah, thanks. I wasn't real happy with you about that, Dan. No, I'm kidding. So we'll have at least 3 of us. There's also been some talk about maybe multiple commentaries on that, just because there's so many of us and we all want to talk about it. So
can I just do one with Steve where we talk about Poe Dameron the whole time?
Yes, that needs to happen.
The Poe Dameron.
Yes, but
commentary.
yes, but I want you to make that a rule, and I want you guys to have like a running tally of every time you say something that's not about Poe Dameron, so that we can all like give you like belittle you really hard in the comments. Like they can't keep on topic. They can't for 2.5 hours.
Keep on talking.
They can't for 2.5 hours keep on topic. They keep talking about things that are not. Yes, do that. If you guys do multiple Star Wars Force Awakens commentaries, just make sure that it's like Force Awakens commentary, the Poe Dameron edition, because that's hilarious. So yeah, they'll do that. I want to do one where I only talk about
a George Lucas special edition, where I just say, well, George Lucas wouldn't have done this every like 5 seconds.
I'm not going to live say you can do whatever you want, because that sounds like a really bad idea. But we'll talk. But there may be. We're joking somewhat, but there may be multiple Force Awakens commentaries. I love the Poe Dameron idea. That's hilarious. And that makes me want to do one on I don't know, man. That makes me want to do a lot more research on Darth Maul and go back and do another one on Episode 1 and only talk about Darth Maul the whole time, because I think that's kind of funny too. Anyway. Okay. The other thing I want to announce, and I'm only this is going to be cryptic, and I'm only going to slightly announce this because I don't want to tell you too much about it now. It's going to happen way later in the year. I have been talking a little bit here and there about preliminaries for a sequel to Spawn Year. It is happening. I am working on preliminaries here and there. Right now, I have written the prologue incomplete, and I'm very excited. Sorry, I've completely written the, not incomplete. I've completely written the prologue. And I'm really excited about it. I'm not prepared to tell anybody even yet what the topic of review is. It is a review. It is a review series. Excuse me, it's not one review. It's several reviews. It's a review series. It is going to be about comics. It is about something that is not Spawn. It will have a narrative component. I'm not going to tell you anything, Aaron. You know already, but I'm not going to tell anybody what it is yet. Well, I'll tell you, it's not Savage Dragon because it's something. I will say this. It's something that I like a lot.
I just want someone to review Savage Dragon.
I know. Anyway, let me finish. It is something that I've reviewed things related to this before, and that people know that I like. It is a thing I like. That's important. It's not like Spawn. It's not. It's gonna be a different kind of show. But it is going to be directly connected to the meta mythology of Spawn Year and be a direct sequel and continuation of the storyline from Spawn Year, and that will begin in October. So we've got quite a bit of time, and I'm going to be working on writing that and making sure that I have enough of it ready to go that we won't have big, long delays this time like we did last time. But I also don't mind telling you that the format is going to be different, so it's not going to be daily. I won't tell you exactly how it's going to work yet, but it's not going to be an everyday thing. It will be a show that happens for a year and stops, but this time I feel pretty confident in saying that it will be a year. It will be from one time to another time, and the time in between is important. So I mean, like, the dates are important. So I really need to make sure it actually gets done on time. Dan Torrey is going to be involved in that show. I'm sure some of these guys will have cameos here and there. Obviously, I don't have the whole thing plotted out and figured out yet, but I have a pretty good sense of where it's going anyway. So yeah, that'll be another story, just like Spawn Year was, and I'm very excited to get back to that. And there will be costumes. I'll tell you that too. There will be costumes. So yeah, there you go. Spawn Year sequel. Tell your friends. Now it's time for open forum. We'd like some questions and comments about everything you've heard us blather on about for the last hour, telling you what we're doing. And if nobody has any comments, we'll go ahead and or questions, we'll go ahead and just adjourn. Leave your questions for Rasco. Rasco will continue. Rasco is a full-fledged member of this team now, but he is going to continue doing the chat because he's good at it, and I'm lazy, and I need someone to do it. So, Rasco, if you see any questions, go ahead and throw them out. Leave your questions in the main chat on YouTube. I don't know if anybody's even using Blue Chat anymore. We're not going to be using Blue Chat from now on unless you guys really want to. Just you guys can still kind of talk to each other, but we're going to be continuing to use the chat in YouTube for questions. So, Rasco, whatever you see, and otherwise we'll find some way to entertain ourselves while we're waiting for questions about this relaunch. I feel like we were really thorough. Hopefully it wasn't information overload, but I don't know if anybody will want to ask us anything, but
if it was, I just want to mention that the Facebook page, I've been logging all of this as we've said it, so all of it's on the Facebook page written down in case you're curious or you missed something.
of course you have.
Oh,
Thanks,
and another
Steve.
thing, just
Yes.
Geekvolution Facebook, we all have access to it, which I'm sure you guys have sort of noticed. We've been putting like our names at the beginning of like our posts and stuff. So just so you guys are aware, you can reach all of us there, and we will all be posting things there. So
If you don't see somebody's name, attached, you can be fairly certain that I'm the one that wrote it. I might start also attaching my name, but you can also see the person's name that wrote it right above it. It's faint, but it does show the person's name. So if they forget to do that, you should be able to see it. Also, we're doing a lot of like live tweeting and live Facebook about TV shows we're watching and stuff. So some of us might watch some shows that we're not doing vlogs on that you can catch some of our opinions and just snarky, silly side comments on Facebook and Twitter. And I do really encourage everybody to go to Facebook and Twitter and follow us at one or the other of those. All the content's the same. Because that's where I tend to put most of the information of when shows are and stuff, and that's the best way to figure out what we're doing. And obviously, I post video announcements when it's something major, but usually I didn't about this, but often I do that.
I have never live tweeted on the Facebook yet because I swear too much. And I don't know if I'd be able to turn it off for live tweeting, but
I love that. Lowe's like I can't like exercise self-control and type without swearing, but I can be on a live show for 2 hours and not swear.
The thing is that in my real life, like, I only swear in text. Like, I don't really swear. Like, even when we did the Daredevil review and stuff and, like, Patreon videos that we've done, like, I don't really swear when I'm talking. I just swear when I'm typing. I don't know why.
Yeah, I remember in the Deadpool review there were a couple times where you were like, oh yeah, I should swear. And then okay, Rasco, are you seeing anything? Is anybody curious about anything? Go ahead.
we have some comments, questions.
Let's
Ultron
get 'em
32.
down.
Will the Girl with the Seven First Names audiobook return?
Oh, thanks for asking that. Cool that somebody cares. Yes, I will start bringing that back, and I'm sorry that I slacked off on it and stopped. Again, other things were coming up, and I kind of forgot about it. I recorded the first several chapters of that before my hard drive broke down. I've told some of you guys about that. And when it came back, I got all of those audio recordings back, but I didn't find time to start again on it, so I'm going to actually deliberately start recording them again. But yeah, I will start putting those back up, and thanks for asking. What else, Rasco?
Okay, this is from Guy Person. Will we get more Spider-Man page by page?
Dan, we've been talking about that hard, trying to bring it back.
Yeah, I'd like to bring that back at some point. If anything, I'm going to be doing those scripted comic reviews after Miller's Daredevil on just like runs of Marvel comics that I think are really good. So if we don't bring back Spider-Man page by page, at some point I'll probably go through Steve Ditko and Stan Lee's run on Spider-Man. So I'll figure out some way to be able to review that for you guys, because it's one of my favorite things, and I gotta go through it and talk about it in some capacity. It's just a matter of lining up Cap and I's schedule. So I'm sure, hopefully, we'll be able to figure that out and be able to do them, because that was a great show. I like that show.
I was really enjoying it. We recorded one I haven't even posted. They're just so long. I mean, like it's only 22 pages, but we can't shut up. They're so long. I mean, it was an hour show. And originally the plan was to do 2 or 3 at a time. And then we just turned into crazy people, and it was like we were on NPR or something. We just wouldn't stop talking.
Well, I think that was the thing that I liked about it the most, was the podcast conversational style about it.
I did too, yeah. And people were obviously responding to it, so it's just a matter of time, you guys. But Dan, I'm thinking this is another reason that I wanted to start having a rotating group or just bring in different people for GNN, because it'll be easier for Dan and I to get together to do things like that if we're not doing GNN every week together.
That's true. And at some point, hopefully, we'll be able to get back to reviewing trades and arcs of things together, doing vaults, because that's one of the things I used to like doing all the time, too, back in our days when we were reviewing stuff like Simonson's Thor and some of the other trades and stuff like that going through. So.
That's how you and I got started together, man. We were doing new stuff back when you were reading a lot of current, and there's Well, I mean, we wanted to get back to Star Wars, and we have, I don't know, there's so much. There's just so much.
Yeah, we had talked about doing Bendis' Daredevil at one point because you recently acquired most of that. So
yeah, and actually, Eric and I almost started reviewing that. So now I feel bad because I forgot I said I was going to do that with you.
No problem.
I started reading that a couple weeks ago, and I really liked this first arc. And then Eric was like, "Can we skip that? It's stupid and pointless, and I don't want to talk about it." And I was like,
"Oh, the Ben Urich one."
I was like, no, I love that, and you're wrong. And he's like, fine, we can talk about it for like 5 minutes.
It's not that it's bad. It just doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the run.
And I don't care. I like it. I don't want to talk about it.
Although
and
it does
I
have a
love
lot to do
lag.
with End of Day.
Yeah. I love, my favorite thing is lag.
Do you actually love lag, or are you just saying that?
No, I'm just saying that. But my job is to keep you on your toes, Eric. Okay, other questions, Rasco?
Okay, this is from insert clever name here. Can we get rants again on GNN?
Who is for rants? Raise your hand if you love the idea of bringing rants back to GNN. I'm all for it. Yeah.
No one will ever top Vince's rant about giant cupcakes.
Can I do my impression of Vince talking about the giant cupcakes? That's one of my favorites too. Giant cupcake? That's a cake! Vince's other best one that goes all the way back, and I still like to say this around him as much as humanly possible, just to drive him crazy, is all those years ago. Vince goes, no one in real life ever says all those years ago, but like we have this melodramatic line in fiction everywhere, all those years. And then, ever since he said that, I've noticed it 75% more often. It shows up all the time. And then when I hear a person say it in reality, I'm like, okay, that's either because it got ramped up a lot after Vince said that for whatever reason, or Vince is wrong, and people actually say that.
It's like we've got company. Nobody really says we've got company.
I've definitely said, I tend to, and I never realized that this is sort of a pun with my name, but I tend to say "lo" those many years ago. Like, I'll say that in a conversation just when I'm referencing something that happened a long time ago.
And I also like it, and this is not here or there, but I also like it in TV shows just for dramatic effect when somebody like over a phone or like in Star Trek over a comm device will be like, "What's going on down there?" And then somebody very ambiguously says, "Trouble." In real life, the person that asked the question, yeah, okay, but what is it? And then you like cut to commercial, and you never heard that person say, but you know Picard's got to be like, okay, Riker, but what the hell are we talking about here? All right, more. So yes, rants. That's a great idea. I'm penciling in right now. Thanks for being here on this Geekvolution planning session, and we will be adding rants back to Geeks Hunters. It's a thing that I took out just because I didn't want people to have one more thing they had to think about. But they're so much fun, and now that Eric's brought back the giant cupcakes, that's a cake. Rasco, what else, sir? I miss Vince so much. By the way, you guys, I just got to throw that out there. You guys are absolutely wonderful. Nobody can replace Vince, but you guys are wonderful and hilarious and insightful, and it's gonna be great. Rasco.
Okay, this is from Silently Judging. Is Brandon gonna appear again on the Chan?
I'm sure he'll be here at the Chan. Is that what all the new kids are saying? Is that what all the kids are saying?
Oh, the Chan.
The Chan. It's like, yeah, I'm sure he'll be with us here and there. Who did we just lose? Somebody dropped out. Oh, Bob. Bye, Dan. Thanks for being here. 10:30. That's his limit. Oh, Dan's back. Hi, Dan. I was just making fun of you. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. It dropped out for a second there.
I said, Dan. I guess 10:30 is Dan's limit. That's it. 11:30 for Dan. Yeah. What was the question again? Oh, Brandon. Yes, Brandon will be back. I'm sure, and I don't know exactly in what capacity yet. We've been talking about a technology show for him, and that might be a thing that ends up happening. but we'll keep talking about it. Yeah, nothing concrete yet. Well, you will see him on some Trexperts here and there and some commentaries. He's in the next TNG commentary that is going to be posted in a week or two. That's already in the can. What else, Rasco? Are you seeing is there quite a bit of stuff?
We've got like I think 4 questions that.
Let's try to knock them all out.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is from Josh. When is the Daredevil season 2 spoiler cast happening?
Yeah, that's a big one. Next Sunday, and we were gonna do it tonight, but we decided, and I'm glad with the technical difficulties and stuff that we did this because Manos wouldn't have been able to do it with us, and that would have been awful. We are doing that next Sunday night at 8 o'clock, and this is a big thing that I meant to mention earlier. I'm glad this question came up. On weeks that I'm excited about this. On weeks that we are doing a spoiler cast with the panel on a Sunday night, we will not be doing 0 hours. So no more of these 2 shows in a row thing. It kills us. It's crazy. It's crazy talk. We're at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 Eastern. That's when we will do some sort of a live show for you every Sunday. 0 hour is a very easy thing to cancel in lieu of something else, and that's what we'll be doing next week. So 0 hour will officially start the week after next, so you won't get to see that format yet, but you will get to see a lot of us together talking about Daredevil. And we'll make those an hour. Sometimes they might be a little bit longer, just depending on how big, how much we want to talk about something. And I feel like if we don't have 2 shows in a row, we can get away with longer shows when we really want to do them. Like tonight, I was going to try to cap this off a lot earlier, but we're getting questions, and there was a lot to talk about, so it's easier to do when you don't have 2 shows. What else, Rasco?
Okay, this is from 5Keeper7Full. Ads in comics, ?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to do at least one more of those, because I ended the last one off on a cliffhanger, and then I haven't done the next one yet. If there's a lot of interest in the next one, I'll keep doing those. I love making them. The last episode didn't get nearly as many views as the one before, and I don't mean to make everything based on views. It's just I'm busy, and I have to consider, interest a little bit. So when I write one of those, I'm not working on a rewind and stuff, but that's a thing I was having a lot of fun making, and so I made 3 of them, and then there was less interest every time. So if a lot of people if you show your support in that show, I'll do a few more for you.
You should end everyone on a cliffhanger.
I should, but that was kind of a one-and-done joke, making fun of how Marvel's been doing their ads for the next. Have you noticed this, Eric? You get to the end right now of a Marvel book, and it'll be like, want to see what happens next at the top, and it'll have a picture of the cover for the next issue.
I do.
And then at the bottom, it's like, read the next issue. Like, obviously. Like, it's okay to just to say, like, read the next issue, whatever, but to put both of those makes me feel like a moron. How do I find out what happens next? I don't know. Anyway, what else, Rasco?
Okay, 2 more questions. J-Man asks, for Platforming Hour, do you plan to check out the popular LEGO video games involving Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, DC, and Marvel?
So I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually collect those kind of religiously. I have most of them, and there's a few that I haven't managed to get my hands on yet. I haven't bought Lego Avengers yet because my wife, that's her favorite series. She plays all of those, and I play them with her sporadically. I have no attention span, so sometimes I'm interested and sometimes I'm not. But we've been playing other ones, and I haven't bought Lego Avengers yet because they go down in price really fast. Like, I don't mind paying full price if I've got to play it that day, but if I'm not going to play it, like, I bought those before and not played them until they were $20, and then I felt like an idiot, because I was like, it's just been sitting there, and I could have bought it for $20 this whole time. But to answer your question, I might do some of that on play. That's not platforming as much as it's puzzling. Like, there's a little bit, there's certainly some platforming involved, but I don't know how great that would make for a live show. But I might do some sections. I might do some Lego Dimensions. I think that would be a lot of fun, especially because the level packs take about an hour and a half to get through unless you get stuck. And I bought 2 or 3 of those and haven't played them yet. So it might be fun to play those for the first time on there. You know, something I do want to do on that show, and every now and again I'll do something that's not a platformer probably, just because I really want to play a game and show it to you guys. Something I do want to do is Scribblenauts, the DC Scribblenauts, because I think it would be a lot of fun to get live comments to help me try to solve puzzles. And be like, hey, there's a character in DC that I don't know. Does anybody know this person so that I can get past this part? And that might be fun to do live. So. And
if Cap ever gets busy and he can't do platforming, I'll probably jump on and do like Arkham Knight or Battlefront or something for about an hour, just so we have that every week.
Yep. Yeah, I can do fill-ins as well, because I have a recording chip thing for my Xbox One, so I can record gameplay, and Wii U as well. So I'll probably do
great. And I want you guys to feel free to post gameplay videos or game reviews anytime you want to. We haven't talked much about video games, and it's weird that like I'm the one person that's doing a regular video game show. And we've got big gamers here. You guys feel free to do gaming stuff anytime you want to.
Yeah, I was planning on doing maybe a playthrough of Disney Infinity 3.0, because I have most of the characters for that. I'm missing mainly the Rebels characters, but then also have games like Civilization 5 and some strategy games like that. So.
And I'll almost certainly do a walkthrough for Uncharted 4 whenever I get that.
Cool, great, you guys.
If anybody wants to see me level grind for 2 hours at a clip for Super Nintendo RPGs, I'll totally do that.
I'd watch that.
I love the idea of calling a show Redshirt Eric Level Grind. Somebody would watch that.
It'll all be built up to the moment where I die and didn't save for an hour.
Can't wait! Yes! I don't have a specific time... I don't have a specific time set up yet for a platforming hour on Friday. I'm thinking probably late at night, just because that's easier for me to do. That might be another 11 o'clock or midnight show. I'd love to get feedback from you guys and find out who would watch that show live and what time of the day you think it'd be cool to have that. But that's probably going to be another at night kind of show. And I say an hour. Sometimes I'll play longer. That doesn't have to rigidly be an hour, but. If I'm really crashing and burning really hard, I'll probably cut it off in an hour. But I'm going to do a lot of classic stuff. And also, the second Angry Video Game Nerd game just came out, and I want to do those, because even though they're vulgar and they probably shouldn't go on my channel, I really like playing those. They're a lot of fun. So I'll probably do that too. And just have a big disclaimer where every 5 minutes I'll periodically say, hey, someone is here whose parents told them not to watch this. Knock that off. So anyway. Rasco, any other questions, sir?
Okay, this is the last question. Soundwave71, are you going to bring back Snackvolution?
Yeah, that'll be a periodic whenever we got food to try kind of show. Yes.
I just realized somebody in my family is subscribed to Munch Pack. It's kind of the same thing as like Loot Crate, but it's like with weird foods. There could be some Munch Pack Snackvolution videos, possibly. I just realized this. It's coming together.
And you guys, just like with Recommends and a lot of other shows, panelists, you guys are all welcome at any point to do a Snackvolution if you really want to try something. I got it's fun, especially when it's geeky stuff. That's when it's the most fun. Like I'm going to do one on this, and I don't have anybody to try it with unless I can get Vince to come over and help me with it. But I got the Star Trek Vulcan beer. There's a beer, and I haven't tried it yet. It's an IPA, and I don't usually like those, but I'm thinking about doing one of those. Vince found that at a store one day and sent me a text and was like, "Hey, do you want the Vulcan Ale IPA for your collection?" And I was like, "Sure, buy that." So I spent $15 on it. I'm probably not gonna like it, but I'm at least gonna have a bottle to save back for my.
There's a Take the Black Game of Thrones beer. I'll probably eventually buy.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Snackvolution every now and again, and it sounds like mostly beer. Rasco, do you see any other questions that came up while we were talking about Snackvolution, Vulcan, and beer?
That was the last one that I think.
I saw a couple people asking specifically if I was going to do Lord of the Rings for Fantasy Rewind, and I think just for everybody, keep in mind that we're basing this off of Superhero Rewind, so like if it falls under the umbrella of what we have talked about, we will probably get to it someday.
Or at least
Only the Ralph
or at
Bakshi
least
one.
try to.
I mean, that's a big one. Now, one thing we should say, though, is that nobody on this panel has committed to what I have committed to. So nobody is saying all of them. I am still saying every superhero movie ever made, which is the reason that I so badly want to try to get them out more often than every 2 months. Science fiction, I'm not saying that about, because that would be the dumbest idea ever. And I don't think anybody else is saying that. But
In my defense, a lot of mine aren't translated.
Good point.
That's a really good point, yeah. Okay, so that's the answer to that. Did anybody see any other questions that we need to answer? Or did you guys have any other things that we need to bring up?
I don't think so off the top of my head.
I guess we're good.
Did you guys hear that voice on the background with Manos? That's a lovely, lovely voice.
That's why they tell you when you're on the radio to turn your radio down.
Yeah, but Manos was doing that intentionally so he could hear what the heck we were talking about. He has a really good reason. Everybody, thanks as always for watching. We sure appreciate it.
Yes,
of course, Eric.
Steve and I are going to be doing a superhero novel, so that's a thing.
Yep, we're going to be working on that sometime soon.
I also have other weird projects in the pipeline I don't even want to talk about yet, but there's a couple of cool things. Oh, I should also mention that we're overhauling Patreon. I should have the new list of tiers up tomorrow or the next day. If you have not joined Patreon, you may find yourself a little bit more interested in it after what we're doing with this. We're going to streamline it. There aren't going to be as many tiers, and one of the main things that we're going to start doing for it that a lot of channels do is we'll be giving away early content. Steve does a lot of his stuff early. I'm going to be doing more of my stuff early. I can't promise Rewind will always be early, but it will some. And I don't want to promise like definitely everything early 2 days ahead or anything like that. But I can promise a lot of content will be early, and at least a couple days, if not more. If you're Steve, you might get things way earlier than that.
Just to give people perspective, I have one comic review from now until December already recorded. And
his rewind's already done.
Yeah, my rewind's already done.
He's making us look bad.
So once I get this up, the people who are on a particular tier for Patreon, and I haven't decided exactly what it is yet, so I don't want to give out numbers, but as soon as that's up, you'll already get to see Steve's Rewind almost 2 weeks before it's up. And Steve, if you're okay with this, I'm going to let, we haven't talked about this, but I'm going to let the patrons, again, at a particular tier, it might be the earliest, I just don't know yet, but I'm going to let those patrons look at every video when we post it, if that's okay with you, just because that's so much easier to keep up with. There might also be some extra content, like there has been, but I don't expect these guys to always record their early conversations in front of and after shows, especially because I expect those to be laden with profanity, although you can do that on Patreon. We do allow for that. So if you guys want to post some of your post and pre-show, post-show stuff, feel free, and we'll continue offering that, but that won't be the primary thing anymore, because I won't be doing probably quite as much co-op as I have been, although there will certainly be, there'll still be a lot, so there'll be that. So those will be two big things that you'll get with Patreon. So anyway, I think that might be more enticing to people. I think people might be more excited about Patreon, and just know that all of the money for Patreon gets sunk back into the channel, either for things to review or for equipment and things like that, and that's what we use that for. So anyway, anything else you guys want to bring up? I want to make sure that everybody gets to say what they want to say.
I want to do just a quick shout out to Sid Part 2,
yes,
who has been amazing at getting some of us, not all of us are using intros from him, but intros for our rewinds, intros for some of the other shows that we're doing, and they are amazing. I can't wait for you guys to see the intros that he's come up with, because they're really great.
Starting tomorrow or Tuesday, whenever Lo gets her first vlog done, no pressure, Lo, you'll get to see the first intro, or the intro for the Crisis vlogs, which is cool, and we've already got that one done. He's working on I'll go and say that he's working on a brand new intro for Superhero Rewind. You'll get to see that in not this one, but probably the next episode. He's already got rewinds, intros done for Eric and for Lo, and think there's one or two others.
Manos, yeah.
Manos.
Yeah, so
Thanks.
Ian is
Thanks,
a
Eric.
master editor. You'll see all of that stuff pretty soon, and also every Sunday he and I have Geeky Gentlemen if you want to watch that show. That's always a lot of fun.
Wait, are you a regular on that show now?
I am. I've been the regular for like a year now.
Yeah.
37-hour days, Steve Baxi.
I'm on there
Jeez.
sometimes too.
I thought I worked too hard. Everybody's going to wonder why I'm still in charge. They'd be like, well, Steve does the most work. Why the Admiral thing is dumb. So anyway. Folks, we're going to go ahead and cap it off here. Thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. Leave your comments. Give us your feedback. Let us know how you feel about all this stuff. Let us know what you'd like to see from us. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot of information. I know it's different. I know it's a lot of change. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm, as I said, going to be trying to use this as a way to get a lot more of the stuff that you guys keep requesting from me out. And it's just going to be more content before it's me not around as much. I mean, you know, proportionally, I'm not going to look like I'm here as much, probably, because there's going to be so many things on the channel. But as always, feel free to watch what you like and skip other things, and we sure hope that you folks will stick around with us and check it out. And in the meantime, we look forward to hearing from you. Feel free to leave comments for us directly on the Facebook on Geekvolution. That's an easy way to get a hold of us. Feel free to leave comments. We'll make sure and look at those. And we want to talk to you directly. And as always, Geekvolution is not about us talking at you. It's about talking with you. So please be part of the conversation. And we will see you again, me and Lo, tomorrow night at midnight, talking about brand new comic books. And I'm excited, Lo. Got Batman number 50 from last week. I'll be talking about that and lots of other things, Ninja Turtles and stuff. So and things that I've probably never heard of from Lo.
Woo!
Woo! Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan, and going back down the team. First of all, the real Manos. Sorry about your technical difficulties, Manos. Everybody, make sure to remember that he's doing lots of awesome stuff with us too, even though he wasn't here most of the time. But we had Manos, we had Steve Baxi.
Good night, everybody.
We had the Curious Lo.
Bye.
We had the Jackson Rasco.
Stay gold, pony boys.
We had... I just needed a moment of silence for that one. We had Dan Torrey.
See you later.
And finally, we had Redshirt Eric. And I'm Admiral Logan saying good night. Good night.